Shalom, everybody. Hope everybody's having a blessed Sabbath day today. My name is Rd Ste.
Yeah.
Shalom. Hope everybody's doing good. Once again, shout out to the brothers in ISBHPK Virginia, ISBHPK Houston, Kazakia, Quatazop. Shalom. Hope everybody's doing good out there. I know y'all are doing y'all Sabbath day also. And just a heads up, starting on the 8th is Hanukkah. Okay, sundown on Tuesday night is Hanukkah. And I just want to make sure everybody gets a heads up on that. We're going to be, I think we're going to still be having classes. We'll have classes on Monday and Wednesday like normal. And we'll determine from there what we do. We're going to still have some activities for the brothers and sisters out here in San Antonio. But I think we're going to have class like normal for those first few days. Just a heads up for everyone. Anyway, we're going to sit back here and send our prayers up, get things set up like normal. Right. Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Nathananel. Awar. Zayawam. The water. Aman.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives us light this day. Thanks. So be it.
It's hot. It's about to get hot. Listen, I got to sit back here and be gentle or quick with my grip.
It's hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit back and scream online. My fingers. No, we're good. Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Nathananel. Rayach. Nayachacha. The water. Aman.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives us sweet savor. Thank you. So be it.
Amaja, Wapanya, Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Nathananel. Hashabah. Bashalom. The water. Aman.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives us the Sabbath and peace. Thank you. So be it.
Psalms 121. Anashia.
Ayanyamya.
Al. Paharyam. Ma'ayah. Yabawa'ah. Isaiah. Yabawa'ah. Ma. Yahweh. Sha'aisha. Shemayim. Wa'aratiza. La'ah. Yanathan. Lamawat. Regalia. Yala'ah. Nawam. Shashamarya. Hana. Yala'ah. Nawam. Wala'ah. Yashan. Shashamamar. Yashala. Yahweh. Shemaria. Yahweh. Tazalia. Ayah. Yanyamya. Yad. Hashemash. Yala'ah. Hakaya. Bayawam. Wala'ah. Halabana. Balayala. Yahweh. Yashemaya. Makol. Rai. Yashemar. Napasha. Yahweh. Yashemar. Hawalakia. Wabawa'aya. Ma'aitha. Wa'ai. Iwalam.
I will lift up my eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yashala,
Shema Yashala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allahayanawa,
Allahayanawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Achad.
Achad.
Shema Yashala,
Shema Yashala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allahayanawa,
Allahayanawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Achad.
Achad.
Shema Yashala,
Shema Yashala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allahayanawa,
Allahayanawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Achad.
Achad. Hear Israel, Yahweh, our power. Yahweh is one.
Lord's Prayer. Abanawa,
Abanawa,
Shabbat Shemayim,
Shemayim,
Kodash,
Kodash,
Hayab,
Hayab,
Shemka,
Shemka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Malakwavka,
Malakwavka,
Taba'ah,
Taba'ah,
Ratazaka,
Zayaka,
Hayab,
Hayab,
Aisha,
Aisha,
Ba'arataza,
Baratza,
Kawa,
Kawa,
Hayab,
Hayab,
Bashemayim,
Bashemayim,
Nathalanawa,
Talanawa,
Lacham,
Lacham,
Ko,
Ko,
Yawam,
Yawam,
Wasalachanawa,
Waslakanawa,
Chawatinawa,
Watinawa,
Kasalachanawa,
Waslakanawa,
Chawatinawa,
Watinawa,
Wala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Tabianawa,
Tabianawa,
Banasawan,
Barasawan,
Abo,
Abo,
Hawashinawa,
Parashainawa,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Rai,
Rai,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Laka,
Laka,
Hamalakwa,
Malakwa,
Waha'ala,
Ma'ala,
Wataparat,
Watapara,
La'ay Malamyam.
Balamyam,
Aman.
Aman. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Ten Commandments. La'ah,
La'ah,
Yahaya,
Yahaya,
Laka,
Laka,
Alahaya,
Alahaya,
Achaya,
Chaya,
Aya,
Aya,
Panya.
Panya. Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'ah,
La'ah,
Ta'ina,
Ta'ina,
Laka,
Laka,
Pasal,
Pasal,
Wala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Ta'ibara.
thy bottom. I shall not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
Number 3. La'ah,
La'ah,
Talachocha,
Talachocha,
Sham,
Sham,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bashawa.
Bashawah. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Number 4. Zakar,
Zakar,
Hayawam,
Hayawam,
Hashabat,
Hashabah,
Lakodashwa.
Lakodashwa. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Number 5. Kabad,
Kabad,
Abaka,
Abaka,
Ya'amaka.
Ya'amaka. Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6. La'ah,
La'ah,
Tharatazak.
Taratazak. Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'ah,
La'ah,
Thana'ah.
Tana'ah. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'ah,
La'ah,
Taganah.
Taganah. Thou shalt not bear false witness.
Number 9.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Thou shalt not steal. My fault.
Number 9. La'ah,
La'ah,
Ta'inah.
Ta'inah,
Shakwar.
Shakur. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'ah,
La'ah,
Ta'chamad.
Takamad,
Ho.
Ko,
Asherah.
Asherah,
Lara'aika.
Lara'aika. Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Hahawa'ah.
Yahweh,
Nathalanawa.
Talanawa,
Hathawara.
Atawara. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law.
Everybody sit. We shocking. Okay. Well, just a recap from last week. We went into Jacob and Laban, and we dealt with also with Leah and Rachel. We kind of broke down some of their characteristics. Class we kind of took it, I guess, to a lot of detail in regards to Leah and her virtues. And we didn't get a chance to finish all of the Sabbath reading from last week. So what I want to do is finish the chapter that we didn't get to last week so we can catch up. Then we'll finish up the reading today. It still is all connected. Because what we didn't get to yesterday is the petitioning, or last Saturday, the petitioning of Jacob to Laban to leave.
Yeah.
You know, after he had served Laban for 14 years, he's approaching Laban to try to sit back here and get out and set his life the way he needs to set. Okay, so now what we're going to go into is just to kind of recap the ending of the beginning of last class, and then continue on with the Sabbath reading today. So the first verse we're going to go into, matter of fact, we're going to need our apocryphers too, not apocryphers, but our Josephus also, because we're going to go in the Josephus first, actually. No. We'll go to the Bible. Genesis chapter 30, verse 25. But have your Josephus ready, because we're going to be going Antiquities of the Jews, book 1, chapter 19, paragraph 9. That's coming up real soon. Shalom, everybody that just responded to us. We hope y'all have a blessed Sabbath as well. I want to sit back here and get this word out, get the scriptures in, keep things positive. It's real, dreary and raining out here in San Antonio. I want to kind of keep the energy up because it's a real downer kind of vibe today. We're going to kind of shake off all this whackness we got going on. Yeah. It's bad energy. But so let's do this. Genesis, matter of fact, set your registry.
Dawiyat, Shor Shabbatah, Banya Hawada, Banya Shalom.
Dawiyat, Shor Shabbatah, Banya Hawada, Banya Shalom. Amachim. Barak. Yahweh Shabbat Shabbatah. All right. Okay. Huh? It's all. We're good. Yeah, so listen, what we're going to do is let's get started. Genesis chapter 30, verse 25. Like I said, we're playing catch up a little bit. There's a class we had last Saturday. We could get a chance or an opportunity to finalize the reading, and I think it's important that we continue so we don't miss any chapters, because all this is relevant. So let's get going. Genesis chapter 30, verse 25.
All right. Genesis chapter 30. In verse 25. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go into my own place and to my country.
So Rachel, this was her first son, Joseph. And now Jacob got to the point where he's like, okay, Laban, it's time for me to go. I've served you for 14 years. Let me be. Let me sit back here and take my wages, so we can sit back here and move forward.
I'm done beyond my duty.
Exactly. Okay. And the wages pretty much just deals with what am I going to get for all these years of service, tending to your cattle. Okay. This is where the negotiations are starting to kick in. Okay. Now read on.
Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said to him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry.
Wait. If I've done anything to you, I'm doing good to you. I love you. I care for you. We're family. We're family. Hold on.
For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake.
So what he's saying is, when you're around, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
When you're around, I'm succeeding. Because before you came, I wasn't making a whole lot of money. My cattle game was low. My success wasn't that baller, but now that you're here, back then they didn't want me.
Yeah.
Now I'm hot, they all owe me. You know what I mean?
That's
Now I'm
the state.
producing, I'm successful.
Yeah.
Because of you. Now what he's also doing is he's kind of puffing them up. Okay, read on.
And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it.
So now it's about the money. But the funny thing is, he's been asking him about his wages. What do you want? What's your price? Name your price. We're family. He said that earlier when Jacob first came in town. Name your wages, son. Son, name your wages. What's your money? What's your price? What you need from me? Okay, read on.
And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when I shall provide my own household also. And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock.
Mm-hmm.
And I will pass through all the flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, all the brown cattle among the sheep.
So what he's saying is, I'm going to take all the cattle that have these physical, I'm not going to say physical deformities, but these recessive genes. Because to have all these spots and all these freckles is a recessive gene. Whereas the other flock, which were more massive, were the ones that were full color, natural, normal cattle. He says, just give me the speckled ones and I get out of your way. Okay, read on.
And all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. And of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come. When it shall come from my hire before thy face, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me.
So if he says everything that's outside of the realm of these spotted goats, they're yours. And if they're not accounted for, I took them, they're stolen. So he's saying, I'm not trying to take your stuff. I just want the speckled ones. Okay? Read on.
And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word.
Mm-hmm. Now, hold that and go to the Antiquities of the Jews, the Josephus, book 1, chapter 19, paragraph 8.
All right. Book 1, chapter 19, paragraph 8.
No, it's not. Paragraph 9.
Paragraph 9.
That was my fault.
All right. Now Jacob fed the flocks of Laban, his father-in-law, all this time, being 20 years, after which he desired leave of his father-in-law to take his wives and go home. But when his father-in-law would not give him leave, he contrived to do it secretly. He made trial, therefore, of the disposition of his wives, what they thought of this journey. When they appeared glad and approved of it, Rachel took along with her the images.
Now hold on, before we go any further, we're gonna let that go because I don't want to.
Going back.
Not yet, because we're gonna. There was a part that I'm missing. That. You know what? Let's just keep going in the scriptures. We'll hit it, and we'll come back to that. So give me verse 35 in Genesis. Genesis 30 and verse 35.
Verse 35. And he removed that day the goats that were
The he-goats.
the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted,
Mm-hmm.
and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it,
Mm-hmm.
and all the brown among the sheep, and gave it them into the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rod. So he removed the bark.
Mm-hmm.
It says, And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when it came to drink. When they came to drink.
Now, listen, I'm not a master on cattle science, but he was finding a way to splice, or I guess set up a way he can manufacture getting more cattle, and I guess getting more of what Laban's cattle to make him his, and he found a way to get the colors to change, or the gene splice, or do something to get more cattle on his flocks. Read on.
And also too is it shows too, it's like people when we drink certain teas, like we have certain barks, certain wood, certain leaves, they'll stimulate like you also commercials, they always say, be a real man again. We have maca, we have we have horny goat wheat. There's different plants that stimulate the sexuality of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously Jacob was a G, and he had information on this when it came to his the animals.
He had been working on these flocks for 20 years, so he had an understanding of how to manipulate their genes, how to manipulate their traits to get more of the spotted animals on his end, and less of the all clean cattle that was Laban's.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's going to go into that a little bit in Josephus, but we'll go on that later.
It says, verse 39, and the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring straight, speckled and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring straight, and all the brown in the flocks of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses.
So, the funny thing is, it looks like when you read Genesis 30 that Jacob was screwing over Laban. Mm-hmm. But really, as we read on, you're going to kind of find out that all Jacob did is get enough to establish him and his family based off of his 20 years of service. Because the crazy thing is, Laban wasn't going to let him leave if he sat back here and requested a 50-50 split. If he requested the wages and the return of what he earned, Laban would have kept him there forever. So Laban or Jacob had to set the circumstances of this trade to where he was coming out at a loss, at least initially, for Laban to even consider to let him go.
Wow.
Because he knew that Laban was going to keep him locked down as long as possible. Because Laban was about his money. Laban was about controlling the narrative, but also saying whatever the hell Jacob needed to hear to keep him working, to keep him successing, to keep his successing to translate into Laban's life. Okay? So let's keep going.
Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all his glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before.
So now Laban's pissed. Now Laban's realized that he just got duped, and Jacob got him. Jacob got him, Jacob duped him, and now there's beef. Okay? Now Jacob knows he's got to get out of there. Read on.
And the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flocks, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that is not toward me as before, but the most high power of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father.
Mm-hmm. He said, listen, I gave him 20 years of my life. I gave him everything I have. The least I could do is come out of here with something to show for 20 years of work and sacrifice. Read on.
And your father hath deceived me, and change my wages 10 times.
And this is the point. And this was the justification to sit back here and manipulate those cattle to get the stronger cattle his way. This guy kept changing his wages. That's going to be explained a little bit later in the Josephus, how he was changing the wages. Read on.
But the Most High suffered me not to hurt me. And it says, if he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. If he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ring straight. Thus the Most High hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass.
Listen, read that again, verse 8. He's going to explain it in verse 8. He says, if he said thus, if Laban said, the speckled cattle shall be your wages, then all the cattle are going to be bare speckled. He's going to find a way to justify that there's no speckled cattle. So whatever he promises Jacob, something has to happen to where he can't come through with the promise.
Yeah.
This is what he's saying. Every time, this is how he keeps changing the wages. He says, if he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, all the cattle that are ring straight are yours, then bear all the cattle ring straight. There's no ring straight cattle. So what he's saying is, every time he promises something, he'll flip-flop and not stick to the obligation. So this is why Jacob had to sit back here and manipulate the cattle the way he had to get out with something, because Laban was never going to give him anything, no reward for all of his work. In Laban's head, I got you roof on your shoulders, you got a job, and you have my daughters. That's enough.
No.
But that's the point. That's where Laban is. Listen, I got food. I got food in your house. You got a brother's house.
You should be happy.
You should be happy. That's enough. Yeah. He's like, no, man. I got a bit of my own. Yeah. So keep going. It's awesome.
Thus the Most High hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. Mm-hmm. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up my eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled, and gristled. And the angel of the Most High spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leapt upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled, and gristled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee.
So the Most High understands that Laban kept changing the wages, kept changing the terms of the agreement. So this is why the Most High allowed this to happen. Okay? The Most High defended him.
It says the Most High is a just power.
Exactly.
It shows us about justice. As long as we're in order with Him, and we don't take things in our own hands,
He will defend us.
Righteous.
Okay? Read on.
I am the power of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me.
He's like, I'm the power that met you when you was laying on those rocks, that rock bed and that pillow. Those rocks were your pillow. And I approached you and I told you to come up here to get your family and to come back down. I'm that same power you talk with. Read on.
Now arise and get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he has sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money.
And it's the point. Listen, Laban's been taking everybody.
He's been exploiting everybody.
He's been exploiting everybody, making bread from everybody. Listen, Laban is hustling. It doesn't matter what you put him, he's going to find a way to tell you what you want to hear, get you hyped up about working hard, and then collect the profits for himself.
Tell you stories.
Tell you stories. The stories make you feel like we're all together. We're all doing this together. Because that was what Laban was saying. Laban was getting everybody to say we're all in this together. We're a team. We're a family. His daughters were a family. But the daughters look up. They get nothing out the deal. Yeah. Jacob looks up and gets something out the deal. You know, it's old school where you got flim-flammed out.
You got flim-flammed out.
Listen, Laban was a flim-flam. Don't forget, the scripture tells us the things written aforetime are written for our learning. All these things that you're sitting back here and reading scripture, your Labans and people like this, these people survive and exist now. Laban lived his life off of exploiting other people, making people feel that they were doing something for the greater good, but really they were just getting used up. But let's keep going. And the daughters felt the same way about Laban. They felt they were just being used by their own father. Let's keep going.
Yeah, Jackson, that.
Huh?
Like
Like the Jack, like Joe Jackson, huh?
It's Joe Jackson, that.
Good, huh? You better sing and you better dance for the family. So let's keep going.
For all the riches which the Most High hath taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's. Now then, whatsoever the Most High hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up, and set his sons and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle, and all his goods, which he had gotten. The cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Padanaram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's.
And this is this part of the verse or the chapter also kind of gives clarity as to why the Most High, or just a glimpse into why the Most High was dealing with Leah so much, and how the Most High took so long for Rachel to get a child, and why the Most High, just because Rachel was favored on the outside, didn't mean what was inside of her match what was inside of her didn't match what was on the outside of her. That's what this is showing. Because why the hell would she sit back here and take his gods? Now, you just read up, what was Rachel and Leah upset about? They didn't get any portion from their father.
Yeah.
They didn't get any inheritance from their father. So then what does Rachel do? Rachel sits back here and takes his gods. Like it obviously, she esteems those gods.
Yeah.
And she looks at those gods as something that's of value for her to take it. Okay? And it also shows you where her heart is at. Her heart was about loving Jacob, but she was also still holding on to those images. She was still holding on to the world while sitting back here and serving her husband.
That's the dilemma, because when we research about Leah was
praying
about the Most
fervently.
High.
Yes.
She was praying to the Father. But Rachel was grabbing the idols.
She was grabbing idols,
cool.
which meant those idols, that lifestyle never left her. She never completely cut off that worldly lifestyle. So you'll sit back here on the outside and say, damn, why is it that Rachel only had one kid at this time and Leah had around 6? It didn't make sense. Why would the Most High do that? But the Most High knows what's inside of a person. He knows what's inside of a person. He knows what people's motivations are. And this is just a glimpse of, even amongst brothers and sisters, you never know why the Most High sits back here and has one person go one path, another person go another path. The Most High does, though. The Most High knows why the Most High denies certain people other things that they want, but He allows other people to have it. But Rachel wasn't going to have everything she wanted. She was used to getting whatever she wanted anyway. But her heart wasn't pure to the Heavenly Father. Mm-hmm. And this is why the Most High, you're going to find out down the line, the Most High had to sit back here and sting her even more because of what's inside of her. Okay? So she took these gods, she took Laban's favorite gods.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
It says, verse 20, and Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he had told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river.
Listen, he had to get out of there. He had to get out of here because Laban was going to sit back here and turn up. Laban was going to sit back here and fight. Because Laban was not trying to compromise. He wasn't trying to be honorable on any level. Read on.
And set his face toward the Mount Gilead. Mm-hmm. And it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey.
Man, that means they were hightailing that. He had a 3 days head start, And they got there 7 days in now. They were pushing. They were maxing out their resources to get them. Read on.
And they overtook him in the Mount Gilead.
Mm-hmm.
And the Most High came into Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban, don't say good or bad, because that good is that deceitful nature.
Yeah.
We saw it's good, he's speaking deceit.
Yeah.
When bad is just intimidation and pressure.
Yeah.
It says, Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword?
But you see how everything that comes out of his
It's a
mouth
narrative.
is like a skewed version of the truth.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's resting judgment. It's almost like he's sitting back here taking a concept and twisting it to benefit
Himself.
his view. You stole my daughters and they're captives
By the sword.
by the sword. Or you gonna lock into me or else. And that's my reason for sitting back here and taking my daughters and my cattle back. You see, he has to create a narrative to justify why he needs to take his cattle back. It has nothing to do with his daughters.
No.
This is about his cattle. But I had to set up a story in my head to say that, oh yeah, they stole. They took my daughter. I gotta go defend my daughter's honor.
This is a bad person. This kind of person.
But this is a person who people in the world now do this. They manipulate. They set up narratives to justify negative intentions. The reality is his intention was negative, but he had to create a story to make it seem like he was the good guy.
He's the good guy. He's saving his daughters, and guess what? He also gets the cattle back.
Because he only cares about his family. It's only about his family. He loves his family, and he's taking care of his family. He has to defend his daughter's honor.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So I'm really, it's about my money, but I can't say that.
Where's my money at?
No,
he can't say that.
You held my daughters by knife point.
How you know it's knife? How you know it's by sword?
By the sword.
That's what he told his boys too.
I know that.
He told everybody else that he got everybody motivated. This guy took my daughter by the sword.
Wow. Listen, there's a lot of Labans out there, people. Watch out. Keep an eye out for Labans. There's a lot of Labans. There's a reason this story is in the Bible. There's a real reason to that. Wow. It's just crazy how he wrote the narrative. That's what's amazing to me. How he set the story up to justify his army or his little group coming at Jacob.
Yeah.
Read on. Wow, bro.
Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly and steal away from me, and didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth?
He was never going to send him away with mirth.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
He was never going to sit back here and let
my
him.
intentions were only to do things good and make you feel good.
I only wanted to care. I brought you in. I brought my sister's brother, my sister's son here to love him and care for him. Yeah. I gave you my daughters.
Yeah, it's the fake good guy.
It's the fake good guy. I gave you nice things. You know what it was? It's almost the spirit of a bribe. I gave you these things so I can keep you.
Yeah.
I gave you my daughter, not the daughter you wanted, but I knew that you really wanted Rachel. So I'm gonna give you this one, and that buys me 7 years.
He won that.
I gotta keep buying time.
Yeah.
Because that was the spirit of Laban too. Let me keep buying time.
Yeah.
This guy's a good worker. In his first 7 years, I've really seen an increase. My profit has gotten higher.
Yeah.
So how can I keep him longer? Because he's going to want to leave after the 7 years. Let me shoot Leah to him. I know he's going to be mad at me, but he'll knock out another 7.
Because he wants Rachel. He'll do it.
That's what I'm. Hey man, it's the law of my land. It's the law of my land that the eldest has to go first. Okay.
This is lawful.
But it's still angles and hustles, and it's sly, crooked dealings to justify his intentions. This is the spirit of a lot of Israel. They won't tell you their intention, but their intentions are masked with niceness and politeness, and hey, I'm only out here for the people. I care about you. I only want you to grow, and about me. But it's about them.
The end result and the suffering of the people reveals. Because the scripture says, when the righteous in authority, the people do what?
Rejoice.
When the wicked bear rule, the people do what?
Mourn.
That's the Bible.
God.
Jacob was mourning, bro.
Yeah.
Why was he mourning?
I got to build my own life. Listen, you give me for 7, and you hucks me for another 7.
Okay, I got you.
Now you got me for 6 more. Now you kept me for 6 more, kept switching on the wages. It's going to explain it. He kept switching the wages, the expectations, how much you're going to get paid, all to draw him out. So these extreme moves had to be done to counteract his negative.
And also, too, the fact that you can take advantage of somebody and still smile on their face every day.
Exactly.
That shows a person's duplicity.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a double agenda with that person and still let that person in the eye and smile at them.
Yeah.
That is also
That's a negative person. It takes a real negative to sit back here and play games with people's lives like that.
Yeah. And your own kids' lives.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like, damn, we got screwed out of our inheritance too.
Yeah.
Because of him. Because it didn't matter. It was about him getting to the next day. Because you know what? What it showed is he was lazy.
Yeah.
And he was inept. He didn't have the skill to learn. First of all, he didn't have the skill to succeed. He was too lazy to learn from Jacob. All of mine to do is go learn from Jacob. Let me learn how he does things so I can do it myself. Nah, that's too much. I want to be lazy. I want to be at the house, laid up, doing what I want to do, and have somebody else push and max themselves out, and then just manipulate the surroundings so I can stay on top longer. Because all I'm trying to do is just learn from him. What did you do, Jacob, to get blessed like this? Nah, you're my cash cow, and I'm going to ride you as long as I can.
Until I break your back out.
Exactly. So it sounds familiar. Let's keep going.
Verse 27. Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly and steal away from me? And didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with mirth and with songs, with tabret and with harp.
I'm going to sit back here and we have a fest for you. Believe in that. Whatever. We're done.
And has not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters like you can't.
I'm this great I'm an awesome grandpa.
Like he's
I'm an awesome grandpa.
Behind the spirit of being a family guy.
I know that.
Because if he was a family guy, he would have taken care of his daughters.
Yeah. And we gave him an inheritance. Why? The question is, why did Jacob and his family feel the need to leave in the first place?
The daughters were down to run too. It wasn't just Jacob.
I know that. That's why Jacob went to them first and, hey, man, what do you think about bouncing? It's like, yeah, man, because we're never going to get out of here. If not, they all knew.
All their friends got moved on with their lives.
Everybody, they're at the grandpa's crib blowing his dad his ranch. And LeBron's ranch.
All the girls they grew up with, they like moved on with
their They're in their own land.
They're good.
That land of Canaan was huge. You can just pick your lot and go.
Everybody's straight. Except for them.
Well, let's keep going.
It says, has not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing.
Okay, now I have the power.
You're the fool.
Yeah, you're the fool. Read on.
It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the Most High of your Father, the power of your Father.
What he was saying is, I have control. Yeah. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. What it shows you, it's revealing that Laban was all about control.
Yeah.
Laban was about controlling everything, but he was about controlling by manipulation. Controlling by manipulation your heartstrings, your allegiances. He was able to manipulate Jacob because he manipulated his heart. You want Rachel, I'm going to keep you busting your tail for that woman then. Yeah. I'm working your heart. I'm going to work your allegiance.
What's your motivation?
You're not enough of a brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't love enough.
Yeah. That's a game. Huh?
That's a game. That's manipulation. Read on.
But the power of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, take thou heed what thou speak not to Jacob, either bad or good.
You know what's funny? He still didn't listen to the Most High. Moses said, don't speak to him. Let it go. But he had to get this off his chest. I'm telling you, I could have killed you dead right now.
Because he wants
but I'm not.
He wants to.
I'm listening to the Lord.
Exactly.
I'm listening to your God, which told me not to talk to you at all. So you're not listening to the Most High. Oh, man. Read on.
And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods?
He's like, you want to go to your father's house to serve God, but you took my gods. Why'd you take my gods? Read on.
And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid. For I said, peradventure, thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me.
He says he's not co-signing the fact that he stole his gods. He said, I left your land because I didn't trust you was going to let me go. Or your daughters.
And take his daughters back.
Exactly.
He was going to do that.
And that was the leverage.
He was
that was the leverage. You can't go, my daughters are staying. And that was the attachment. That was the control. He was going to always hover over Jacob. Read on.
With whomsoever.
And he was going to keep the kids too. He was going to keep the kids and the women and keep Jacob out there in struggle town.
This guy's a oppressor.
I know. He was an oppressor. Read on.
With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me.
So listen. Jacob was like, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let that person not live. That person shouldn't live who's the one who took your gods. They don't deserve to live. So really, Jacob is cursing whoever took the gods of Laban.
Yeah.
He cursed him. So who did he end up cursing?
Right.
His favorite. He ended up cursing his favorite woman too. He ended up cursing his favorite lady when he's going to battle with Laban. Read on.
Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them.
So he's like, it's death to the person who got your damn gods. You know what it also showed? He really wasn't sharp on Rachel where her heart was at.
Yeah, you're right.
He wasn't really in tune where her spirit was at. And that's what you know when that happens? That happens a lot of times when you're so caught up into the looks and the beauty and how a person makes you feel.
It creates stupidity.
You miss. You're not keen on spiritual flaws.
Yeah.
Or you choose to overlook the spiritual flaws because you're so focused on making the pretty one happy. You're so focused on making the one that you're into happy. And that's where it says favor is deceitful. Because you'll sit back and look past character flaws, attitudes, outlook, negativity in somebody because I need what you bring to the table to me in the flesh. So Jacob missed on some integral things. Like, you think she just took the gods? Like, you don't think she still had that in her heart? You don't just take the gods unless that lifestyle is in your heart still.
You've done it for like 14 years. 14
Exactly.
Years.
Yeah, and that's the point. 20 years.
20 years. You should know that she's down with these images or not.
That's the point. That's the point. Keep going.
It says right here.
Verse 33.
Verse 33. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tents. But he found them. But he found them not. Then went he out to Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture.
First of all, Rachel was a very sharp, witty person. She listen, you can tell by how she's rolling that she knew how to manipulate situations. That's why she was always favored, because she was always able to manipulate people, manipulate her surroundings, manipulate the narrative. So even now, she knew the heat was on. She didn't want to admit that she screwed up. She didn't want to admit to the Most High that she was wrong. She didn't want to admit to her husband she was off. So I'm just going to keep hiding, keep lying, I'm going to put it in a damn camel furniture, camel satchel. Read on.
And sat upon them.
And then sat on it.
That's pretty good.
That was skill.
That's pretty good at it.
But it shows you why the Most High wasn't about her. She was about concealing and lying and not being straight up. The same spirit of her father.
Yeah.
Concealing, lying, not being straight up. There's always another ulterior motive. There's always another angle that's got to come. The problem with Laban and people like him is that you never know where they're coming. They might give you this angle, but you don't never know their intention. You never know what their heart is at. And that's why it's hard to trust people like that. And the problem with Rachel, she was a beautiful, favored one, but she was the same one. She was manipulative. Read on.
And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise up before thee. Look at the word displease my lord. That's flat.
Yeah. "My Lord, Miss Sage,
Yes.
I can't go salute you, Father, and hug you." It
Yeah.
says, "For the custom of woman is upon me,"
Oh, wow.
because she was on her menstrual
And
cycle.
men don't want to hear that.
Yeah, and they didn't want to deal with any of
Yeah.
that. That's why she didn't get off the camel, because she was on her period, so to speak. Oh, forget it. Okay, no problem. But she knew that to back him off. She would deflect the issue. Read on.
And he searched, but found not the images.
Man, it was all about manipulation. Leah was the straight arrow, the one that was about serving the Most High and doing things the right way. She was the one that had all the praise and favor. She always went back door. She was always sideways with her intentions also. Not always, but in this scenario she was. Okay? Read on.
It says right here. It says right here. It says right here
Verse 36.
36 bro. It says, and Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban.
He's going back and forth with them, man. They're arguing.
Try to what chode was about.
Yeah.
Let me put the definition real quick.
Chose like arguing. It's getting the communication is getting somewhat heated.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
It says, and Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me?
Listen, they were 3 days ahead and they caught him on the seventh day. They were pushing, man. Read on.
Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have not I eaten. That which was torn of beast I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou require, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. In the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes.
He said this dude was losing sleep. He was freezing cold at night.
This is why Laban didn't want to do that workout.
And he says, exactly, in the day the drought consumed me, I was thirsty as hell. The frostbite, I'm freezing cold. I'm not getting no sleep, busting my tail, dealing with these cattle. And he says that if a cattle was killed by an animal, he had to take the loss. If a bottle was dropped,
You gotta pay for it.
anyway, he's like, listen, man. He's like, if I had to take the consequence on all levels, all the responsibility, and I still never took from you. I still never stole from you. Read on.
Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle.
So once again, it was supposed to be 6. The extra 6 was just, you know what's jacked up? Listen, he had to serve 14 years just for his wives. Huh? You know how unequitable that is? What's the basic dowry for a wife, man? Let's look into that real quick, man. When you sit back here, what's a basic dowry for a wife? How much does it cost to have a wife? To sit back here and a son or a man talks to a father and he says, I want to marry your daughter. What's the custom? Let's sort of see. I'm trying to find a chapter that deals with marriage. I think it's 24. Shalom, shalom. Deuteronomy 24. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. Is it 24? No, it's not 24. It is maybe it's a 20. No, that's not 20. You know, I might not even be able to find it. But I want to go here and find it, but I don't want to waste everybody's time while I'm Because it's not, the word dowry is not in there. Is it?
You shall get the black price.
What was that? Yeah, it's just not. It's not where I'm looking. Let me see. It is Exodus 22, but it's not giving me. Well, that was what David gave for his wife. Here it goes. I'm right on it. Let me see. Okay, here it goes. Deuteronomy. This is what I was looking for. Deuteronomy 22 and 25 through 29.
Deuteronomy 22, verse 25 to 29.
Yep.
It says right here, but if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die.
Cut.
But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter.
Read on.
For he found her in the field, and betrothed the damsel, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed.
So, if a man finds a woman that is a virgin and is not given to someone, read on, not promised to someone, read
and
on.
lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver.
So listen, the dowry was 50 shekels of silver.
Uh-huh.
Read on.
And she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her, he may not put her away all his days.
And this is the point. This is the point that Jacob was saying. Listen, you think 20 years of labor is adequate payment for 2 daughters?
Yeah.
That's insane. And why would you do that to your son-in-law? That's literal blood. That's your sister's son. Why would you do him like that? The whole spirit behind this interaction was negative. And this is why Jacob had to do what he had to do. 20 years, I'm sitting back here busting my ass, and I have nothing to show for 20 years of service with you. Let's keep going. No matter of fact, where are we at? Genesis what?
We're in Genesis
31 and 41, right?
Yeah. Frost by day, frost by night. Now we're 41.
Yes.
Verse 40. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle. And thou hast changed my wages 10 times.
Now, that's insane. So after those 14 years, in that 6-year span, he kept changing his wages. We're going to go a little more into that. Let's go to the Antiquities of the Jews in the Josephus. Now we go back to that paragraph 9. So once again, this is Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus, book 1, chapter 19, paragraph 9. We're in the middle of it.
Paragraph 9.
Yep.
309, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now Jacob fed the flocks of Laban, his
I'll
father-in-law.
give you the middle. Rachel took along with her the images.
Okay. Tribe of 4 specific wives. Possession of Jacob, Rachel. Okay. Now letting Laban know it beforehand, but the reason why Rachel took the images of the gods, although Jacob had taught her to despise such worship of those gods.
It's he made trial therefore the disposition. It's right here. It's in the middle. That's towards the end.
Okay, verse 310, point 310. He made trial, therefore, of the disposition of his wives, what they thought of this journey. When they appeared glad and approved of it, Rachel took along with her the images of the gods which, according to their laws, they used to worship in their own country, and ran away together with her sister. The children also of them both, and the handmaids, and what possessions they had, went along with them. Jacob also drove away half the cattle, without letting Laban know of it beforehand. But the reason why Rachel took the images of the gods, although Jacob had taught her to despise such worship of those gods, was this, that in case they were pursued and taken by her father, she might have recourse to those images in order to obtain his pardon. It's a plan B.
It's a plan B.
It's
a plan B.
It's a security net in case this don't work with Jacob.
Yeah.
Because Jacob was tripping.
Well, Jacob was making a bold move. Jacob was making a bold move.
It might not work.
In case this don't work out, I got to cover my tail. Now we're going to jump towards the, let me see. We're going to go to the middle of paragraph 10 because I don't want to read the whole amount.
What point? Remember?
Thou hast treated me as an enemy by driving away my cattle.
Oh.
It's the same kind of
Come on, man.
The bond conversation, man.
Oh my Lord.
So what this is saying, matter of fact, we go a little higher. It's when Laban had been thus forewarned by the Most High, he called Jacob to him the next day. I want to read the whole story again. I want to hear how he spins this interaction.
The spinner.
It's when the Most High, when Laban had been forewarned. Okay.
Because it's not.
When Laban.
Okay, right here.
This is in the middle of paragraph 10. I'm trying to skip so we don't just go through all the. Let's read it from the top. Read it from the top.
When Laban had been thus forewarned, I got that.
Yes, read that.
All right, it's point 314.
314. Read that.
When Laban had been thus forewarned by the Most High, he called Jacob to him the next day.
He was forewarned not to even talk to him good or bad, but he still talked to him. Read on.
In order to treat with him, and showed him what the dream he had, independence, whereupon he came confidently to him and began to accuse him, alleging that he had entertained him when he was poor. I knew when he was poor. He had nothing. Wow. And in one of all things, and had given him plenty of things which he had.
What did he give him? That wasn't controlled by Laban. I gave you everything. What? Really? Didn't Jacob build you up and make you powerful?
Come.
Read on.
For he said, I have joined my daughters to thee in marriage, and suppose that thy kindness to me would be greater than before.
So it's because I gave you my daughters, you should be more kind and appreciative for what I've given you. And you should be happy to give your 14 years of your life to me. Read on.
But thou hast had no regard to either thy mother's relation to me.
So now it's going to your mother. So you don't even respect the relationship that I have with your mother.
But that was him.
Exactly. He didn't respect it either. Enough to sit back here and let him go peacefully. Read on.
Nor the affinity now newly contracted between us, nor to those wives whom thou hast married, nor to those children of whom I am grandfather. Oh, he's all this emotional.
Yeah.
Emotional game.
It's all about the family now. Read on.
Thou hast treated me as an enemy by driving away my cattle and persuading my daughters to run away from their father.
So the daughters were supposed to stay with him forever. His daughters were supposed to stay at his house. And Jacob was supposed to be sunned.
They're having babies.
Jacob was supposed to be sunned by Laban forever.
That's what he wanted.
I know that. That's what he wanted. Continue.
And by carrying home those sacred paternal images, which were worshipped by my forefathers. Those paternal images are those fertility gods.
Yeah.
And has been honored with the like worship which they paid them for myself.
By myself.
By myself. In short, thou hast done this while thou art my kinsman. Oh.
Mm-hmm. You just taking advantage of your family, your blood.
And my sister's son, and the husband of my daughters, and was hospitably treated by me, and did us eat at my table. That's what he's telling his people too. He's telling all people, making Jacob look bad.
I know.
When Laban had said this, Jacob made his defense that he was not the only person in whom the Most High had implanted the love of his native country, but that he had made it natural to all men, and that therefore it was but reasonable after so long time he should go back to it. But as to the prey of those driving away, thou accusest me. If any other person were the arbitrator, thou wouldst be found in the wrong.
Yep.
For instead of those thanks I ought to have had from thee, for both keeping thy cattle and increasing them, how is it that thou art unjustly angry at me, because I have taken and have me a small portion of them? Wow. But then, as to thy daughters, take notice that it is not through any evil practices of mine that they follow me in my return home, but from that just affection which wives naturally have to their husbands. They follow therefore not so properly myself as their own children. And thus far of his apology was made, in order to clear himself of having acted unjustly. To which he added his own complaint and accusation of Laban, saying, While I was my sister's son, and thou hadst given me thy daughters in marriage, thou hast worn me out with thy harsh commands.
He says he wore him out with harsh commands. That's what he was talking about earlier, about being freezing cold, about being consumed with drought, about not getting any sleep. I mean, Laban was being a slave driver, working ridiculous hours. Listen. The hours were insane. The demands were things he wouldn't put himself through.
Yeah.
This is what Laban was doing. He was putting him through things that he wouldn't put himself through. Read on.
And detained me 20 years under them. That indeed, which was required in order to my marrying thy daughters. You want to marry my daughter, you're going to work all day, all night.
Listen, and normal payments like 50 shekels per wife, man. Not 14 years of your life slaving. That was ridiculously harsh. But this was the Most High. That was the Most High's will. And it was a lesson for Jacob. Jacob had to learn to trust the Most High. Read on.
Hard as it was, I own to have been tolerable. But as to those that were put upon me after those marriages, they were worse.
He said, I can accept knocking out those 14 years. He said after the 14 years, it got worse.
Oh my God.
He said after the 14, it was unbearable. Read on.
And such indeed as an enemy would have avoided.
He said an enemy would have avoided this stuff. He says, you treated me worse than an enemy these last 6 years. Wow. That's crazy, man.
For certainly Laban had used Jacob very ill. Use it.
He took advantage of him, man. Read on.
For when he saw that the Most High had was assisting to Jacob in all that he had desired, he promised him that of the young cattle which should be born, he should have sometimes that was a white color, and sometimes what should be of a black color. But when those that came to Jacob's share proved numerous, he did not keep his faith with him.
Listen, so he said he would promise Jacob, listen, once it came out white, I'm going to be yours. And then when they started having a lot of white ones, he says, no, man, we're going to change that, man. The ones that are black are going to be yours. And then when the black cattle got large, he says, no, we're not going to do that. That's what Jacob said by you changed my wages 10 times. Because he would promise him all the white cattle are going to be yours.
He's going back and forth. He wanted to win.
But once again, if they got too large, he's like, why should I give him all these white cattle? No, you'll get the black cattle. And the black cattle will get large. No, you ain't getting the black cattle.
Well, for 6
Those
years.
are my cattle. He kept screwing them over, right?
He greedy hard.
He was greedy and he was selfish. He was a slave driver. And all that mattered was what he wanted. That's crazy. That's crazy. Read on. That's what he meant by the changing of wages. Whatever he promised, the Most High would bless that. You want, okay, white cattle? I'm going to bless the hell out of these white cattle. No, we're not going to do that. We'll give you the black cattle. He'll bless the black cattle. Then it will be the speckled. All these different creatures, he would sit back and specify. They kept growing larger and larger and larger. And he kept reneging. Read on.
Because of his envying him, the multitude of his possessions. So I'll read it here. But when those that came to Jacob's share proved numerous, he did not keep his faith with him.
I mean, he didn't keep his word, you know?
But said he would give them to him the next year. Oh my God. Because of his envying him, the multitude of his possessions, he kept pushing it back.
Yep.
He promised him as before, because he thought such an increase was not to be expected. But when it appeared to be fact, he deceived him.
Exactly. He didn't think that the black cat was going to get lost if he said black cat. Then they blew up. Well, we're going to wait, man.
He's a hater.
Exactly. You know?
He's a low-key hater, bro.
He's a negative person, bad guy. You know?
But then, as to the sacred images, he bid him search for them. And when Laban accepted the offer, Rachel, being informed of it, put those images into the camel's saddle on which she rode, and sat upon it, and said that her natural purgation hindered her from rising up. So Laban left off searching any further, not supposing that his daughter in such circumstances would approach to those images. So he made a league with Jacob and bound it by oaths, that he would not bear him any malice on account of what had happened. And Jacob made the like league and promised to love Laban's daughters. That's this too.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the first son that Rachel had? Did she have Dan?
No. The first son was Joseph.
Joseph?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She only had two sons. It was Joseph and it was Benjamin.
I thought she had Dan too.
No. I think Dan was by
By the concubine?
By the concubines.
Yeah, that's what I meant. My bad. I'm not lying on that. I'm not lying. Remember,
He's lying on the Bible.
I'm not lying on camera.
No, because she told him to go into.
Yeah, because she couldn't have.
Okay.
Her first son technically was Dan.
Okay.
So,
but it wasn't her physical son. Her
Yeah.
surrogate son.
Yeah, there we go. I'm just being clear.
No, you got to say surrogate. It wasn't her.
So it was a surrogate
in
son.
TV land, it was Ephraim. All right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Joseph. Not even Ephraim. It was Joseph. Sorry.
But the surrogate child was Dan, right? And so she had these images.
I don't go there with that. Don't go there with that. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to go. We're not getting. That's deep. That's like
No. I'm just saying that influence is there.
Well, the
She
influence
believed in
was
those images.
there. Influence is there, and the Most High gets her in the next sin. You're gonna find out.
I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, we'll leave it alone. Man. We get that's
We're
getting
not
real
gonna go there.
spiritual.
We're not going to go there.
Yeah, let's not get that spiritual here. So what they end up doing is learning how to just make peace with their circumstance. Listen, Laban can get angry all he wants. He got 20 years of free labor, and his cattle were much better after Jacob left than when he started. And then Jacob worked like a slave for 20 years, but you know what? He got his cattle and he got his family, and he's heading home. And that was the resolution between Laban and Jacob. Read on.
All right, so Laban left off searching any further, not supposing that his daughters in such circumstances would approach to those images. So he made a league with Jacob.
Yeah, we got that part.
And bound it by oaths, that he would not bear him any malice on account that he had what had happened. And Jacob made the like league, and promised to love Laban's daughters. And these leagues they confirmed with oaths also, which they made upon certain mountains, whereon they erected a pillar in the form of an altar, whence that the hill is called Gilead. And from thence they call that land the land of Gilead to this day. Now when they had feasted, after the making of the league, Laban returned home.
So there was a ceasefire, man. So let's go back to Genesis 31.
Okay.
And let's continue. Let's go 31 and 41.
Genesis 31, verse 41.
You can just keep reading and bring it up once.
Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle. And thou hast changed my wages 10 times. So he continued to change the wages. This was projected. I'm going to go ahead and pay this. We read in Josephus he would push it back about a year after that if things changed up, or actually based on his change up. Right? Except that God, the power of my father, the power of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have been with me. Surely thou hadst sent me away now empty. So basically, the Most High saved Jacob from being defrauded because it wasn't in Jacob's power. There was nothing he could do. His cunning, crafty skill set was not enough to overthrow Laban's oppression over him. The Most High had seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. So what does it show? The Most High, after long periods of time, if you continue to keep your integrity and pure concept towards the Father, the Most High defends over time. It says, and Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which have borne? Now therefore, come thou not, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone, and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones. And they took stones, and made a heap. And they did eat upon the heap. And Laban called it Jagar Sahaduda, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watched between me and thee when we were absent from one another. Verse 50. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, the Most High is witness betwixt me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, behold, this heap, and behold, this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. So it's just a protective agreement.
It was an agreement to sit back here and look after his daughters. It's still crazy that Laban was pushing this control thing, like Jacob couldn't have any more daughters. We couldn't have any more wives. I don't understand that. But I think the Most High was okay with it because he was still establishing the 12 tribes at this particular tribe.
He was trying to control. He just wanted control, bro.
Laban was about control the entire time, but I think the Most High was okay with this arena, this agreement.
Condition, yeah.
Because it was about establishing the familial line going down the way.
Huh.
And the Most High wasn't going to have Jacob mess with any Canaanite women.
Yeah.
So don't forget, they were in the land of Canaan. This is also what makes, I guess, the promise of so much effect, because at the time, the Canaanites were so much greater and stronger than this small family of people that was living inside of Canaan.
Huh.
Imagine the fact that you're one family, and they said, listen, man, your family's going to overtake all this one day. That idea is a really large, huge goal for a small family of 70 souls that would eventually grow and expand to where they would overthrow Canaan.
Yeah, the whole nation was there.
Exactly. Was there, founded for years. But let's keep going.
The power of Abraham and the power of Nahor and the power of their father judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mountain, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place. Finally got rid of Laban after 20 years.
20 years, bro. Now the Most High can actually work on Jacob's spirit and build his family up. Okay, let's get chapter 32.
And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of the Most High met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is the
power's host.
The power's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim.
Mahanaim. No, I'm sorry. Mahanaim.
Mm-hmm. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, in the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob said thus, I have journeyed with Laban. I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my word, that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob.
Now, why are they sitting back here? Why is he doing this? Because he's still trying to find out where Esau's head is at. Remember, Esau, the reason he went to Laban in the first place was because Esau was trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And he wanted blood. So before Jacob goes back further down into this country, he needs to kind of get a feeler out to like where this guy's at. Where is Esau's head at? Okay, read on.
And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him.
He rolled deep like, God, this dude got 400 men out. This dude want blood. I don't know what this guy wants out.
He came strong out.
Listen, he rolled deep out. And all Jacob had was some sheep and some cattle and some kids out. He didn't have much else out. Let's keep going.
And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her.
What verse are you at?
That's verse 2 of 34.
We're in 32.
That's page 2, my bad. Verse 7.
Okay, there we go.
The page was together.
I was like, what's going on?
Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and herds and the camels, into 2 bands.
So that's 2 spaces, so I can sit back and fight. I got to figure out how I can sit back and protect myself. We know.
And said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O power of my father Abraham, and power of my father Isaac, the Lord would set us unto me, return unto thy country, and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies, and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children. So you never know what Esau's going to do. You never know what's in his heart, what's in his mind, his disposition, if he was jealous. Verse 12. And thou saidest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So he continued in that midst of stress and struggle. He continued to lean on the Most High's promise. That's teaching us, when we're in the midst of our storms and struggles, we have to remember the Most High's promises to us, and that He's for us. He's with us if we keep His commandments, if we live right. Right? Verse 13. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 kine, 10 bulls, 20 she-asses, and 10 foals. He delivered them into the hand of his servants, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, whose art thou, and whither thou goest, and whose are those before thee? Then thou shalt say, they be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and third, and all that followed the drove, saying, on this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him. And say ye moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept me. So it's like the idea is Esau's carnal is physical. Maybe his anger will be quenched by the gift of these financial benefits, all these she asses and he goes, so he can multiply financially. That's how we do Esau today.
Mm-hmm.
Esau would kill us off, but you know what? He wants us to labor too. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can't kill us off, destroy us, but then you want us to work for free. So Esau still doesn't know what he wants. He hates us, but he needs us.
Yeah.
And he wants something financially off of us. So those two different desires in him keep him in conflict in himself. All right? Verse 19. And so commanded he the second and third, that he followed the drove, saying, on this manner when ye speak unto Esau, when ye find him, and say moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and the 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jugbook. And he took them, and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And there wrestled a man with him.
So this is before he actually physically saw Jacob. I mean Esau, right? This is before Jacob actually met Esau. This is still the preparation leading up to this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep going.
Verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him unto the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was at a joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go.
For the angel was saying, the angel, eventually you realize it was an angel. This angel wrestled with Jacob unto the beginning of the morning. Okay, and the angel was not prevailing against Jacob, so he touched out the hollow. He knocked his hip out of joint. That's excruciating pain I can only imagine. Read on.
For the day breaketh, and he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God, with the Most High, and with men.
Thank you. The Most High. With the Most High and with men. And a lot of times, what people, when you sit back and read this story about Jacob wrestling the angel, a lot of times the understanding is Jacob was a supplanter, because that's what Jacob's name is. Jacob didn't graduate to fulfilling his potential to be that prince of power until he proved to the Most High where his fight was, where his spiritual fight was. And this wrestling match with this angel was, I guess, a metaphor in his spirit. I don't want to say metaphor. It just was an example of when Jacob didn't give in to his flesh, when Jacob didn't sit back here and quit, he got the reward. And it's an example even for our spirit. Listen, what is the spirit of a supplanter? Let's kind of go into that so we can understand the significance of being referred to as a prince of power, and so we can understand the significance of this wrestling match, so to speak. What's a supplanter? What is the basis of a supplanter? Does anybody know? Yeah, he's a survivor, and a supplanter a lot of times survives and gets away with things by trying to find the easiest way to get somewhere. And a lot of times that is the nature of our people. We get what we want, but a lot of times we want the path of least resistance, the easy way, the most comfortable way possible. We'll sit back and make moves to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And in order for Jacob to get blessed, to be that prince of power, he had to sit back here and fight this angel and not give up until the morning time. And even at the morning time, he was not going to sit back here and let go of the angel until he got a blessing. We can sit back here and look at that in our spirit and tell ourselves, if we want to maximize our potential, because each and every one of us, the funny thing is this, when you read Abraham, you read about Isaac, you read about Jacob, they all had their particular set of battles and circumstances that they had to go through to establish a personal relation with Heavenly Father. Each and every one of us has our own personal battles and our personal testimonies that we have that lets us know that the Most High is real. And in the process of us learning our testimony, in the process of our learning gaining our experience in the Heavenly Father, we all are pushed to making that transition. To transition from the person who is surviving day to day by just giving the bare minimum, speaking game, using whatever talents and abilities you use to capitalize with somebody else, versus making a decision that you're going to commit your life to not compromising right from wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's what being that prince of power is. He was not going to give in to whatever obstacle that was in front of him until he was blessed. And the funny thing is, it took Jacob time and years to gain that maturity. Even if you sit back here and look at the time with Laban, listen, Jacob had to learn to grow and be mature anyway. What prepared Jacob for this time, the rest of this angel?
All that he lost?
All that he suffered, bro. Listen, as bad as Laban was needed. Laban was needed for Jacob, to test Jacob, to develop Jacob, to make Jacob the man he was, to prepare him to even deal with that angel. He explained, he was pushed to the point of dehydration, he was freezing, no sleep. All those things forged him into a greater man, a stronger minded man, a mentally tougher individual. And what he learned dealing with Laban prepared him to stay mentally tough in dealing with this angel, to wrestle with this angel. So everything he experienced in the past led him to this point. So he could be that prince of power.
It strengthened his will.
It strengthened his mind, his spirit, the fighting spirit in him. And a lot of times, whether it's men and women in Israel, we have to learn that all these difficulties that we face, you can look at it as an attack, a bad thing, or you can look at it as an opportunity to grow stronger in Christ, to grow stronger in your mental strength, your discipline, your fortitude, your outlook.
Because it's how you take it. Scripture says,
Because I want to say one thing. Don't forget, Laban meant him harm. Laban meant to hurt him.
Wow.
Laban meant to take from him. But you still have to sit back here and not let those circumstances water you down, break you down, and weaken you. And it's so important. The great thing was it even got to the point that Jacob was able to have peace with the whole interaction with Laban. And that peace of mind and that acceptance of mind propelled him to get the true understanding of what that battle was. So we can sit back here and move forward and fight and grow. Okay? So once again, all these things Jacob went through, got him ready for him fighting this battle. And also in the midst of him fighting this battle with his angel and him being referred to as the Prince of Power, there were consequences too. That hip was not going to get no better, man. He was going to have a permanent injury with that hip that he fought with that angel. Once again, a lot of times when you're sitting back here and fighting to establish something spiritual, a spiritual foundation, the flesh is going to have to get compromised and touched while you're trying to build what you're trying to build in the spirit. Okay? So, I want to go to Antiquity to the Jews real quick. It's book 1, chapter 20, paragraph 2. I want to kind of read about
20, paragraph 2, right?
Yep. I want to read about this, the wrestling with the angel.
All right.
And this, don't forget, this was in preparation to even meeting Esau. So this was necessary to give Jacob that extra confidence in confronting Jacob. Read on. For confronting Esau.
When Jacob had made these appointments all the day,
And all this preparation for Esau. Read on.
and night came on, he moved on with his company. And as they were gone over a certain river called Jabbok, Jacob was left behind. And meeting with an angel, he wrestled with him. And the angel beginning the struggle, but he prevailed over the angel, who used a voice and spake to him in words, exhorting him to be pleased with what had happened to him, and not to suppose that his victory was a small one, but that he had overcome a divine angel, and to esteem the victory as a sign of great blessings that should come to him, and that his offspring should never fail, and that no man should be too hard for his power.
So once again, it was a confidence that he needed between him and the Most High, and for him to deal with Esau, which was coming down the line. He didn't know if there was going to be war, what was going to happen between him and Esau. But he needed this as confirmation to let him know that the Most High was what? The Most High was with him. The Most High was there for him. Read on.
He also commanded him to be called Israel,
He is a prince of power. Read on.
which in the Hebrew tongue signified one that struggled with the divine angel.
Mm-hmm.
These promises were made at the prayer of Jacob. For when he perceived him to be the angel of the Most High, he desired he would signify to him that he should befall him hereafter. And when the angel had said what is before related, he disappeared. But Jacob was displeased with
Was pleased.
But Jacob was pleased with these things and named the place Bethuel, Hanuel.
Yeah.
Hanuel.
It's Phanuel.
Phanuel.
PH is an F sound.
Okay. When signifies the face of the Most High. Now, when he felt pain by this struggling upon his broad sinew, he abstained from eating that the sinew himself afterward. And for his sake, it is still not eaten by us. Then Jacob understood that his brother was near.
Okay, that's all I want. Let's go back to Genesis 32 and 28. No, yeah, 29.
33:29?
Mm-hmm. 32, 29.
Okay. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen the Most High's face to face, and my life is preserved.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed over Peniel. The sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Wherefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, but is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of the shank.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to chapter 33. We have a lot of chapters to go. We have 3 chapters to go still. A lot of reading.
And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. He divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children, and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which the Most High hath graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near, and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of the Most High, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because the Most High hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said unto him, My Lord knowest that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die. Then, my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that goeth before me, and the children be able to endure, until I come unto my Lord unto Seir. And Esau said, Let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, What needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and behold him, and built him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place was called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalom, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padanaram and pitched his tent before the city. And he brought a parcel of the field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it El Hoeg Israel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go and we're going to bounce a little bit back into Josephus and the scriptures in this next chapter. Okay? Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Chapter 34, verse 1.
And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land.
So, Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which was the sister of Levi and Simeon. Okay, she was the legitimate sister to Levi and Simeon. Went out to see the daughters of the land. Read on.
And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her.
Now, we're going to sit back here. Don't forget, Shechem is a Hivite. He is a Canaanite. Okay, so don't forget, there's still this uneasy tension between the Canaanites and the Hebrews. Okay, because the Canaanites were foul people. We're going to go on to Josephus and read the Antiquities 21, chapter 21, book 1, chapter 21, paragraph 1. And we're going to kind of find out, listen, they were living in obviously Shechem, okay, in the city of Shechem. They were living there. And she's going out there. We're going to go and kind of explain what happens. Read paragraph 1.
Book 1, chapter 21, paragraph 1. Whereupon Jacob came to the place till this day called Tents or Succoth. From whence he went to Shechem, which is a city of the Canaanites. Now as the Shechlemites were keeping a festival, Dinah, who was the only daughter of Jacob, went into the city to see the finery of the women of that country.
Dinah went shopping. The finery is the clothes and the outfits of the women of the city. So she went shopping in the city that she was living in. Read on.
But when Shechem, the son of Hamor the king,
So
saw
he
her,
was the prince of that city. He was the prince. Shechem was the prince of that city. Read on, that they were living in. Read on.
he defiled her by violence.
So he sat back here. It wasn't some consensual situation. He took her by violence. You can kind of put two and two together what that is. Read on.
And being greatly in love with her, desired of his father that he would procure the damsel to him for a wife.
So the crazy thing is the way the Canaanites do this. This is the Canaanites, man.
Weird.
They sit back here and they take the woman by violence. And I love her. I wanted to formally marry her now. What the hell are you doing, man? It's just the way the Canaanites rolled was backwards. You know, in the show, they reacted with the flesh first. Then they sat back here and dealt with the matters of the heart. That's how they listen. When I read this, I think of damn Game of Thrones.
Yep.
When the long haired dude this dealt with old girl in a foul way, then all of a sudden, I love you now. But before it was another gal. You know what I mean? So that's how these Canaanites roll. I'm just going to just procure, especially the prince and the higher end of the people. Princes did what they want. The kings did what they wanted. Okay? So read on. So now they want to approach Jacob about marrying Dinah to this dude. Even though they defiled her. He defiled her. Read on.
338. To which desire he condescended and came to Jacob.
Meaning he came to them humbly. Okay, read on. After the fact. After they was brute beast. Read on.
Desiring him to give leave that his son Shechem might, according to law, marry Dinah.
Exactly. So the king came to Jacob in humility to try to broker this marriage. Read on.
But Jacob, not knowing how to deny the desire of one of such great dignity
And power. He's like, listen, man, if I tell this guy no, what's going to happen? He might just wipe us out. They were still small. They were still foreigners in a foreign land. So how do I sit back here and navigate this? Hell no, I don't want my daughter to deal with these damn Canaanites. I didn't want my sons dealing with the Canaanites. So how do I work around this? And my daughter's defiled. How do I avenge her? Read on.
and yet not thinking it lawful to marry his daughter to a stranger, entreated him to give him leave to have a consultation about what he desired him to do.
So he said, he asked the king to give him some time to think about what he has to do to handle this situation. Read on.
So the king went away in hopes that Jacob would grant him this marriage. But Jacob informed his sons of the defilement of their sister and of the address of Hamor, and desired them to give their advice what they should do. Upon this the greatest part said nothing, not knowing what advice to give. But Simeon and Levi, the brother of the damsel by the same mother, agreed between themselves upon the action following.
Now, we're going to keep going in the Bible now, and then we'll go back to this part. Let's go back to the scriptures. Genesis 34 and verse 3.
Genesis 34 verse 3. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto the father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor the father of Shechem went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel, in line with Jacob's daughter, the which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you, give her him to wife, and make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters into you.
So that now it's not
getting
just
worse.
it's getting worse. I want you to sit back here, and y'all sons can have my daughters. We can have this wicked, filthy Canaanite household, man. It was gonna spoil. It was gonna spoil the whole thing, man. And this is why the Most High let Simeon and Levi do what they was about to do next. He didn't want to sit back here and allow this connection to mix, this affiliation to mix. Read on.
And ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you.
Like we was one big family. We can sit back here in this mixed cultures, this great big melting pot. Read on.
Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein.
So I'm trying to bribe you. You can get possessions now, man. Give your daughter to us formally, and you can make some money. You can come up. Things will be okay. Read on.
And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said to them, we cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach upon us, unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we grieve our daughters. Then we will give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters unto us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words displeased Hamor.
No, pleased Hamor.
And their words pleased Hamor, and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter. And he was more honorable than all the house of his father.
So the thing is this. Just because Shechem was more honorable than all the house of his father didn't make Shechem positive. Shechem was still negative, brute, Canaanite beast. It was still negative. But Shechem had more honor than most of the Canaanite men would have did. They just would have took him and went to war and killed off the people. Don't forget, Abraham used to be afraid to go into Egypt and deal with Abimelech because they thought they would just take the wife and kill the guy and move on with their life. That's how the Canaanites roll. So the idea of them taking Dinah is nothing to them. Shechem was just trying to be honorable after they did their normal Canaanite acts. Read on.
And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised, as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. So it's a hustle. They see the benefits they have too.
Exactly.
They see it's a color.
The Canaanites, listen, them sitting back here adjusting customs and adding customs, that was nothing to them. They had no foundation anyway. They were following other gods all the time. So this wasn't no big thing. These adjustments really weren't anything. Okay, read on.
And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore.
Listen. You can't even move. You can't even. I've seen brothers when they had their circumcision. You can barely move. You're not gonna be able to pick up no sword. There's no way. Read on.
That two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went out. And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. And they took their sheep, and their oxen, and their asses, and that which was in the city,
Oh, strong move, bro.
and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, Ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land of.
He's like, man, you know my name is mud out here, bro.
I can't hustle with his name.
He's like, Jacob, when you hear Jacob, we gotta kill this man. He killed our brothers out here. Listen, Jacob, he brought a lot of smoke his way. He says, man, Levi and Simeon, y'all brought smoke my way out. You brought smoke our way.
The whole land.
Listen, you took the gold, you took the land, you took the children, you took the women, you took everything. Oh my goodness. Golly, man. He says, you have troubled me to make me stink among the inhabitants of the land. Read on.
Among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I being few in number.
This is the point. Listen, man, they were outgunned, outmanned. The whole Canaanites and that whole land wanted one family. You know how easy it is to take them out? This sort of military scenario. Read on.
They shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as with the harlot?
What can you say to that? You're right. And those are the risks sometimes you take when you stand up for what's right.
Yeah.
There's some legitimate consequences. I'm not going to go into, I guess, the Josephus's depicting of how Simeon and Levi took out the Canaanites, because it's a different type of scenario. But what I will go into, go read on paragraph 2 of that chapter 21
Okay.
in the Josephus. Paragraph 2 is okay.
Book 1, paragraph what, 22?
Paragraph 20, paragraph 20, chapter 21, paragraph 2.
Paragraph 2. Now while Jacob was astonished at the greatness of this act, and was severely blaming his sons for it, the Most High stood by him, and bid him be of good courage, but to purify his tents, and offer those sacrifices which he had vowed to offer when to meet first in Mesopotamia, and saw his vision.
So he say, listen, don't be afraid of the Canaanites and what they're going to do. Purify your surroundings. Purify everything around you. Okay? That also means purify everything that they took. Everything that they took and spoiled, purify everything in your household. Okay?
Dedicate the Most High.
And make sure, what it's saying is, if you want protection from me, make sure everybody around you is pure of mind. If you want protection from me, make sure your surroundings have no other gods, no other images that can defile you when you present yourself to them. Okay? Read on.
As he was therefore purifying his followers, he lighted upon the gods of Laban.
So as he was purifying everything, he found those gods that Rachel had took from Laban's house. Read on.
For he did not before know they were stolen by Rachel. And he hid them in the earth under an oak and in Shechem. And departing thence, he offered sacrifices at Bethel, the place where he saw his dream.
So when he really boiled down to it, he got the hell out of Shechem. Listen, whatever land he bought out there, he left all the gods and everything that was there, Rachel's possessions. He cleansed his environment and left and got back to Bethel. That was the original place where the Most High had appeared to him when he was laying on that pillow of rocks. Okay, so he's still going downward back to his father Isaac. Okay, so he keeps working his way down. So let's let this go and go back to the scriptures. Genesis chapter 35.
and 1 or
35 and 1.
Genesis 35 and 1. And the Most High said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto the Most High, that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto this household, and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments.
Because it was about this was what was being talked about in the end of paragraph 2 about purifying yourself so you can present yourself to the Heavenly Father, so we can get that protection that we need, because we're wanted men and women now. Our family is public enemy number 1 amongst all these Canaanites. Read on.
And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto the Most High, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak that was at Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of the Most High was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the son of Jacob.
What's crazy is whenever they went to the city, terrors were sitting back here and hitting all the Canaanites out. So what it was doing, it was setting a message to the Canaanites. Whenever these guys come around, you guys are going to die. Whenever Jacob's family comes around, torture, not mayhem and chaos and cursing was hitting all the Canaanites. But that was how the Most High was protecting Jacob's family. Okay? And it was forcing all the Canaanites to back off of Jacob. Read on.
This is right here. And they journeyed the terror, and the terror of the Most High was upon the cities where round about them. And they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob.
Exactly, because they weren't going to pursue the vengeance that they wanted to over Shechem and Hamar's death. Read on.
And Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, and he and all the people that were with him. And he built an altar and called the place El Bethel, because there the Most High appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak, and the name of it was called
Elon Bachuth.
And the Most High appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padanaram, and blessed him. And the Most High said to him, Thy name is Jacob, and thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And the Most High said to him, I am the power, Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee. The king shall come out of thee, out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee I will give the land. And the Most High went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him,
Most High,
Bethel.
where the Most High spake to him.
Where the Most High spake unto him, Bethel. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was a little way to come to Ephraim. And Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor.
So Rachel had a hard labor. She was pregnant. Read on.
And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called this name
Benoni.
Benoni. But his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died, and was buried in the way of Ephraim, which is in
Bethlehem.
So she died during childbirth?
She died during childbirth.
Wow.
But once again, it was also said that whoever sat back here and stole Laban's idols was going to get killed. The Most High don't play, man. Listen, the favorite one had to get smashed because she was still messing with these idols. It wasn't just that she stole it; she was still holding on to it. And the Most High, it took them all the way down to Shechem, to where he had to sit back here and do an inventory to make sure there was no negative in the house before they would move on. Because before the Most High would protect them at the level that Jacob and his family needed, they had to make sure there was no negativity in the group before the Most High would honor them in the next endeavor. Then he finds out that Rachel had these damn idols. And that's why she died in childbirth. That was the reason. Most High wasn't going to bless her. It just shows, just because you might be favored on the outside, if you're not clean and pure on the inside, Most High is not going to honor you. No matter how much you're favored on the outside. Let's keep going.
And Jacob set a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Edar. And it came to pass when Israel dwelt in the land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. And the sons of Leah, Reuben.
So I don't know why the hell Reuben would sit back here and go lay with his father's concubine Bilhah.
Wow. Good lesson.
And this is why he wasn't allowed to be the firstborn. He lost his right, his firstborn right.
Wow. Okay.
But it doesn't go into why.
It's character, bro. It's kind of off, bro.
Has some offness in him, man. I'm mad at Reuben because I'm Reuben. Why'd you do it, Reuben? Why'd you mess up? We could have been firstborn, G. We could have had all the glory, all the power. Trying to be Reuben instead of trying to trip. Anyway, it is what it is, and it doesn't really go into the why. It just lust, man, I guess. Let's keep going.
And it came
Tripping,
to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay.
Are you gonna read it again?
I gotta see it again. I gotta get like what happened.
You gotta keep reading it again. Reuben sinned. We all sin. We all make mistakes.
Verse 23.
Verse 23. We all make mistakes. We're all flawed human beings. We're all ordinary people. We don't know which way to go. Just don't. Take it slow. Oh. Let me stop.
He knew which way to go.
You got to take it slow. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being a fool. Okay, read
23. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's first.
Verse 22 again. You can read it again.
And it came to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12.
It's crazy, bro. Anyway, let's keep going.
The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun.
Listen, Leah had 6. It was Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Read on. That's a lot of blessings. Read on.
The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali.
Exactly.
The sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Padan Aram. And Jacob came unto Isaac his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. And the days of Isaac were 180 years.
So 180 years Isaac was living in the earth. Read on.
And Isaac gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people, being old and full of days, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Let's read in the Antiquities of the Jews, book 1, chapter 22, paragraph 1. There's only one paragraph.
Book 122, paragraph 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Antiquities of the Jews, book 1, chapter 22, point 345. From thence Jacob came to Hebron, a city situate among the Canaanites. And there it was that Isaac lived. And so they lived together for a little while. For as to Rebekah, Jacob did not find her alive. Isaac also died not long after the coming of his son.
So Rebecca had already passed by the time Jacob got back down to the homeland. And Isaac didn't last long after he got there too. But he went. The Most High obviously made it to where Jacob was able to get back to Isaac before he passed. Read on.
And was buried by his sons and his wife in Hebron, where they had a monument belonging to them from their forefathers. Now Isaac was a man who was beloved of the Most High, and was vouchsafed great instances of providence by the Most High, after Abraham his father, and lived to be exceedingly old. And when he had lived virtuously 185 years, and then died.
Once again, what we do when we read the Josephus, the scripture says 180, so we're going to stick with 180.
Yeah.
We're not going to say 185. What we do with the Josephus is strictly to add more teeth to the story, to fill in the details. But if there's ever a scenario where there is a discrepancy in storyline or a discrepancy in years or times, we're going back to the Bible. The scripture tells us not to add or take away from the scriptures. We're not going to do that. But to sit back here and add sometimes to give a little more detail to a story is why we use the Josephus so intensely. Okay? So we're not sitting back here and making the Josephus quote unquote canon. Josephus is not canon. It is not what we're holding on to, tried and true. You know what I mean? Just so we make sure we got this right, so we're not getting talked about on YouTube like we're sitting back here using the Josephus as scripture. It ain't. It's just there's certain records. Even when you read in the scriptures, it talks about when you go and deal in Chronicles and Kings. It also talks about, did you read about this in the records of this person, or on the stories and acts of this person, or the stories and acts of that person? So there was obviously more records that were out there about our people that weren't brought into. I know, Tuzz, it's not our control, bro. Listen, it's the neighbors, and I'm saying it online. The neighbors be bringing a P-funk every day. It ain't that. It's the neighbors, bro. We had to smoke them out every damn day, man. Cause it's just bad. They cooking some damn wildebeest next door or something like that.
It's bad.
They cooking wildebeest. It's something in there that's not cool. Every time we get here in the morning, it's that way. Ain't nobody using the restroom. It's not that.
We would have to like close the AC vents out.
Yes.
Let me be like.
Anyway. I'm sorry y'all online heard that, but it's the truth, man. I saw the brother Space when he came in. I was like, it ain't us. It ain't us. I promise. We didn't do nothing.
We do it at night.
It smells like gas.
I know that. Listen, the charcoal is all burnt out, and that's when the smell kicks back in again.
I want that
It's
smell.
right next door. It's right next door, bro.
They cooking?
It has to be. It has to be, bro.
I believe it.
Oh man, it's frustrating. I mean, coming every morning, it's like it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
It's like I think that was Jaffe at the flea market, man.
Mm-hmm.
They cooked that kimchi, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it smelled hard.
Oh, kimchi?
Yeah.
The
whole flea market smelled.
Yeah, it was like raw like fish and rotten vegetables, like
rotten cabbage.
Yeah,
Buried
that's
underground.
yes.
Yeah, Shaw used to walk in like,
Yeah. Rotten cabbage is the worst smell ever. And they're eating, smashing that food. Like, it's awesome, man. It's bad, man. Yeah. I remember that's bad stuff, man. Okay. Now we're going to go into Genesis chapter 36. And this chapter pretty much is just dealing with all the genealogies of Esau. So they can sit back here and close off the book on Esau and not talk about him for a while. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of Genesis 36 is about. And so let's do this. Cosby, you think you help us out with this Genesis 36, sir? Oh,
Tazapah, Shal Shabbatah, Wahaban, Ban, Yasha'Allah.
Tasapa. Shah Shabbatah. Ban Rabban.
Ban
Ban
Yasha'Allah.
Yashal. Amaju. Rak. Yahweh Hashem Yashabakata.
Yahweh Hashem Yashabakathom.
Yeah, Tessa, we was reading about how Reuben just sinned, man. I was like, man, y'all don't understand, man.
I heard it. I was listening.
I said, listen, man, we was ordinary people, man.
I know, brother.
I was like, we done messed up the chance to be the top seed, man, and we didn't screwed the pooch out.
It is sad too, man, because he had other choices.
Yes, he did. You know, the funny thing is, listen, they just brought all the women from that damn land of Shechem as servants. Spoils of war.
But remember, Jacob went into Laban's land and he had servants with him that he inherited from his father Abraham. So he had choices.
He was like, no, I want Bilhah. Give me Bilhah. Anyway. And it was just like one paragraph. He didn't explain it.
Come on, man.
Like, why did he do it? Why is water wet, man? Why is the sky blue? I guess.
I mean,
Damn shame.
But like you said, man, it might have very well been the Most High's will, man.
Yeah. All of it is. You know, the crazy thing is, I was reading earlier, when we talked about Rachel. Rachel was trying to name Benjamin Benoi, and Benoi is the son of sorrow. And Jacob's like, nah, man, you're going to be son of the right. It says Benoi means let me see. It says, Benoi signifies the son of my sorrow. Benjamin is son of the right. He's like, ain't gonna be no son of my sorrow, but we're gonna change this up. But once again, Rachel was at her end because of the curse that she had for bringing those idols from Laban's spot.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Once again, she was the one doing dirt, but she was the one that knew how to talk to people and get her way out. That's how it is, man. Okay, let's get Genesis 36.
Genesis chapter 36, verse 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zebeon, the Hivite, and Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth. And Adah bare to Esau Eliphaz, and Bazibant bare Reuel, and Aholibah bare Jeus, and Jaalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives, and his sons, and his daughters, and all the persons of his house, and his cattle, and all his beasts, and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. For their riches were more than that they might dwell together. And the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir.
So once again, this is just going into their genealogies. And this is dealing with their genealogies. And we're dealing with just Esau's Edom. Esau's the father of the Edomites as a nation. Okay, continue.
These are the names of Esau's sons. Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau. Ruel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the son of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Abimelech. Abimelech. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife.
This is why we say that Amalek is of the genealogy of Esau. Okay, read on.
And these are the sons of Reuel, Nahath, and Zorah, Shammah, and Mezah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Lamach, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeus and Jaalam and Korah. These were dukes of the sons of of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz, Duke Korah, Duke Gatan, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. And these are the sons of Raoul, Esau's son, Duke Nahah, Duke Zerah, Duke Shammah, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came of Raoul in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Aholamah, Esau's wife, Duke Jeus, Duke Jaalam, Duke Korah. These were the dukes that came of Aholamah, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes. These are the sons of Seir, the Horite, who inhabited the land, Hotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anah, and Dashan, and Ezer, and Dashan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir in the land of Edom.
And what does it show? This shows the structure of Esau's society, that he's beginning his posterity and his ancient ones also. They have forefathers too. All right, their forefathers really are our forefathers, but it shows the two nations separating and building up patriarchs for the next generation. Read on.
And the children of Lotan were Hori and Hemam, and Lothan's sister was Timnah. And the children of Shobal were these: Alvan, and Ma'ahath, and Ebal, and Shepho, and Onam. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Ajah and Anah. This was that Anah that found the mules in the wilderness as he fed the asses of Zibeon his father.
Okay.
And the children of Anah were these: Dishon, and Aholamah, the daughter of Anah. And these are the children of Dashan: Himdan, and Ishban, and Idran, and Chiran. The children of Ezer are these: Belhan, and Zaavan, and Akan. The children of Dishan are these: Uz, and Aran. These are the dukes that came of the Horites: Duke Lothan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, Duke Anah, Duke Dishan, Duke Ezer, Duke Dashan. These are the dukes that came of Hori among their dukes in the land of Seir. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom. Before their reign, any king over the children of Israel. And Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom. And the name of his city was Danhanbah. And Bela died. And Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his stead.
This is a tough reading test, but I already know, bro. I'm like, they still in the reading that. What a long conversation back there. We still going up with some names. Like, dang, man. We're going to war with these names. I'm sorry. I just had to break it up. I was like, I know this is some crunchy, long reading right here. I had to break the monotony a little bit. Okay, let's keep going.
34. And Jobab died, and Husham of the land of Timanah reigned in his stead. And Husham died, And Hadad, the son of Bedad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Avith. And Hadad died. And Shamlah of Mazrikah reigned in his stead. And Shamlah died. And Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. And Saul died. And Baal-Hanah, the son of Achbor, reigned in his stead. And Baal-Hanah, the son of Achbor, died. And Hadar reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Paul. And his wife's name was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau, according to their families, after their places, by their names, Duke, Timon, Duke, Abba.
This is my question too, because
Dukes and deaths and dukes and deaths. There's a whole lot of dukes. These guys was dying quick.
straight white history. It's just straight pure Edomite history. This is right here in the Bible.
But it's
But
real.
what's-
Yeah.
But what's so crazy is when you deal with the Canaanites and you have their manners, you know Esau had previously married what? Canaanite women.
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity to mix in with the Canaanites, but we rejected the idea, right? We rejected the principle of marrying the Canaanites and intermingling cultures, right? Was that to say that Esau did the same?
No, he was about intermingling all these guys.
So Esau, it's safe to say that Esau was commingling and but absorbing Canaanite culture.
Yeah.
So a part of Esau's character and virtue is Canaanite culture
Yeah.
because they were intermingled. We don't.
Done. Just keep reading about the dukes, man. Dukes on
Duke.
dukes, man.
Duke's on.
Dukes on dukes on dukes. It's Genesis 36.
36 and 40. Jethet, Duke Ahalamah, and Duke Elah, Duke Painan, Duke Kenaz, Duke Teman, Duke Mimzar, Duke Magdiel,
Magdiel, yeah.
Duke Aram. These be the dukes of Edom,
It's all the.
according to their habitations in the land of their possessions. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites.
I don't have much to say about that guy in this chapter. There's nothing of real value to say. There were some dukes, they lived and they died, and ain't getting no deeper than that. You know what I mean? But the Most High, this is for the sake of record. They're sitting back here and closing the book on Jacob and Esau in that time. Now we're going to sit back, and not necessarily Jacob, but Jacob and Esau's interaction, and then they cut the book off on Esau. Now it's about Jacob still. Now we're going to Joseph next week, and all the details and scenarios happen with Joseph and everything that his brothers did to him, and all the blessing ended up going to Joseph down the line. So that's what's going to be next week. What you going to
What's
say?
interesting too is when you read back
Mm-hmm.
in 36, it tells you how some of Esau's sons
Yeah.
had married, which would be what, Esau's uncle, Ishmael.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Keep going. I'll let you finish, and I'll add on to that. Yeah.
No, that's all I want to bring up. We know that Ishmael is the heir. So
But the funny thing is, he started dealing with Ishmael when he found out that Jacob was going to his homeland and his people. Because it said that, right? He went into start dealing with the children of Ishmael when they found out that Jacob went to go to Padanaram to Laban's family. So like, and then he realized, I wasn't supposed to deal with the Canaanites. So let me go deal with my people. So now you deal with Ishmael, which was closer related than Canaan, but they still aren't related the way they were supposed to be. It was a carnal solution to a spiritual problem. The issue was, dude, you shouldn't have dealt and mixed with the Canaanites anyway. So let me go ahead and let me deal with Ishmael. It still wasn't about the spirit; it was still about the flesh. But it's crazy, man. But you know what? What I'm not going to do in the rest of this class is go over Obadiah chapter 1, because we went into that 2 weeks ago when we went into Esau. because the next part of the reading is about Obadiah chapter 1, the whole dang shebang. We're not going to read that because we've already done that before. What we can do, a lot of brothers have been starting to go into Ezra to kind of add on and just to get Israel to get some stories and information in the Apocrypha along with the readings. So what we'll do today, we'll do chapter 1 and we'll do chapter 2 and we'll shut it down from there, okay? Because it's only 1 o'clock and we were normally banging out at least 2:30. We ain't gonna make it 2:30 today. We're gonna get 2 chapters and we're gonna see where it takes us in the Apocrypha. I don't want to go into the basic script that we've been going into lately. We've already been hitting those topics, so I don't want to make it redundant because it just goes into Esau. We've been going into Esau already. So let's go Ezra chapter 1. We're going to do Ezra 1. We're going to do Ezra 2. Let's switch up. Kwame, let's do Ezra chapter 1. Let's get everybody at least a chapter in.
Complicated reading out the water.
Listen, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, dude. That was a crunchy read.
That was
We
crazy.
switched up like that, but like I ain't gonna miss my beer. Like Abadaba, Abamiala, Abalabaliaba. I'm sorry.
Kwamba Yashala, Shah Shabbatah, Yehuda, Ba Yehuda, Ba Yashala.
Kwan Ban Yashala, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Yehuda, Ban Yashala. Imagine, bro. Yahweh Bashem Yashabrakatah.
Yahweh Bashem Yashabrakatah.
Yehuda, we going straight Syrian on y'all cats up in here. Yehuda. Italo Yehudi, man. Listen, we gonna go straight. We going straight Assyrian on y'all. Okay, so it's the book of Ezra, chapter first book of Ezra, chapter 1. We're going to start going into these apocryphal readings, especially on those classes where the topics and the angles go real quick. Okay, so we'll start going into this. We want to read about Esdras. Just so we know, for those who don't know, Esdras is Greek for Ezra. Okay, and Ezra is the scribe that was the scribe of the Most High. He was a Levite, and he was taken into captivity during Babylon in 580, around 586 BC. And in the scriptures, the prophecy was that they were going to be in captivity for 70 years in Babylon. Okay, after being in captivity for 70 years in Babylon, the prophecy now was that they were going to sit back here and be allowed to come back to their homeland and rebuild their temple after the 70-year process is over. This is why when you read Ezra, it's Ezra in the Bible, and it's Nehemiah. Then it jumps back into Esther. And that's that whole time of reconstruction and rebuilding of the temple during that time. Okay? Because even when you sit back here and you look at the history of things, Babylon came into power in around 586 BC. And they came out of power. The next kingdom that came into power were the Persian and Mede Empire. The Persian and Mede Empire came into power in 538 BC, approximately 538 BC. So that's around 586 minus 538. What is that? Around 48 years. Okay? Now, obviously, the 70-year time still had to go through, but in between that 70-year time, the Persians and Medes were now in control of the earth. Now, Babylon still had that jurisdiction over the Jews, but the Persians had the control over the whole thing. So what was happening was, in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah and Esther, they were petitioning to the king, the different kings of that time of the Persians and Medes, to allow the Jews to go back into their land, rebuild their temple, and reestablish their country under the jurisdiction of the Persian Mede Empire. Okay, just to give a little history and understanding about what we're reading in the book of Esther. Okay, so let's keep going. Ezra chapter 1.
Ezra chapter 1, verse 1. And Josias held the feast of the Passover in Jerusalem unto his Lord, and offered the Passover the 14th day of the first month, having set the priests according to their daily courses, being arrayed in long garments in the temple of the Lord. And he spake unto the Levites, the holy ministers of Israel, that they should hallow themselves unto the Lord, to set the holy ark of the Lord in the house that King Solomon the son of David had built, and said, You shall no more bear the ark upon your shoulders. Now therefore serve the Lord your God, and minister unto his people Israel, and prepare you after your families and kindreds, according as David the king of Israel prescribed, and according to the magnificence of Solomon his son, and standing in the temple according to the several dignity, the several dignity of the families of you, the Levites, who minister in the presence of your brethren, the children of Israel. Offer the Passover in order, and make ready the sacrifices for your brethren, and keep the Passover according to the commandment of the Lord, which was given unto Moses. And unto the people that was found there, Josias gave 30,000 lambs and kids, and 3,000 calves. These things were given of the king's allowance, according as he promised, to the people, to the priests, and to the Levites. And Hilkias and Zacharias and Silias, the governors of the temple, gave to the priests for the Passover 2,600 sheep and 300 calves. And Jeconias and Samias and Nathaniel his brother and Asabias and Okiel and Uram, captains over thousands, gave to the Levites for the Passover 5,000 sheep and 700 calves. And when these things were done, the priests and Levites, having the unleavened bread, stood in very comely order according to the kindreds, and according to the several dignities of the fathers, before the people, to offer to the Lord, as it is written in the book of Moses. And thus did they in the morning. And they roasted the Passover with fire, as appertaineth. As for the sacrifices, they sawed them in brass pots and pans with a good savor, and set them before all the people. And afterward they prepared for themselves and for the priests their brethren, the sons of Aaron. For the priests offered the fat until night, and the Levites prepared for themselves, and the priests their brethren, the sons of Aaron. The holy singers also, the sons of Asaph, were in their order, according to the appointment of David, to wit, Asaph, Zacharias, and Jeduthun, who was of the king's retinue. Retinue. God. Moreover, the porters were at every gate. It was not lawful for any to go from his ordinary service, for their brethren the Levites prepared for them. Thus were the things that belonged to the sacrifices of the Lord accomplished in that day, that they might hold the Passover. The offer sacrifices upon the altar of Slaki, and offer sacrifices upon the altar of the Lord, according to the commandment of the king Josiah. So the children of Israel which were present held the Passover at that time, and the feast of sweet bread 7 days. And such a Passover was not kept in Israel since the time of the prophet Samuel. Yea, all the kings of Israel held not such a Passover as Josiah, and the priests and the Levites and the Jews held with all Israel that were found dwelling at Jerusalem.
So, just so we know this, like we said earlier, Esdras is the scribe, and Esdras is going over in this situation King Josias, and the Passover that King Josias had back for the kingdom. Just so we have a little clarification with King Josias. Before King Josias, if I'm not mistaken, it was, oh my goodness, it was King
Manasseh before.
It was Manasseh, and then the next guy who died quickly. And Manasseh had gotten to the point, King Manasseh had eradicated anybody that was about reading the Bible, teaching the scriptures. All the prophets were killed by Manasseh. Okay, so the funny thing is, me and Diane went over a class a few weeks ago about Josiah and how the Bible wasn't even written and read and spoken of for years. It was like a 75-year period of time before the scriptures were even brought out. And that's why they're talking about how Josiah reestablished the Passover, and they reestablished the worshiping of the Heavenly Father. They reestablished that connection back to the Heavenly Father, and that's why this Passover was being talked about with so much, I guess, detail and specifics, because they hadn't been following the Bible. Listen, they might have been partying and doing some basic routines and rituals, but they weren't sitting back here and following the law verbatim. How the hell could Jotham, when you read in 2 Kings, Jotham was like, hey, there's a book. And they said, scribe, can you read this book? Yeah. Okay, when you read the book, can you read to Joseph? Read it to the king and see what he thinks.
No, it's the Bible.
Oh, it's the Bible. It's the law of Moses.
Scriptures was hid.
That's my
He
point.
found them in the temple.
Listen, he was doing basic inventory. He was doing an inventory of the gold. He was doing an inventory of what's inside the temple. And then, this is a book. Listen, the high priest didn't want to read the book. The high priest didn't even want to read it. Hey, scribe, read it. Like, you can't read it? Aren't you the priest? The question is, what was they doing as priests if they weren't reading the Bible? They was turning up.
Giving them little pamphlets out. That's what they had.
They weren't doing. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not gonna go into details of it. But when you're reading Ezekiel, the Most High tells you that these people were weeping for Tammuz in the temple.
Oh wow!
And when it says, take a look in the temple, and he allows Ezekiel to see what's in the temple. What was in the temple was phallic symbols. Men and women genitalia. They were worshiping these deities.
Bad zone in there.
It was negative inside these temples. If they weren't reading the Bible, they would do it. It was turning up. That was the time of Ezekiel. If they was doing it in Ezekiel, that was around the time before, right when Judah fell. But that means the 9.5 was turning up too. Judah was messing up too. Manasseh was bringing all type of negative. But Manasseh, where he was killing all the prophets. That means they was bringing all this idolatry into the zone too, and they was all mingled together. This is why when you sit back here and you read about these Greek these Greek stories about Zeus and what's the guy that was strong, Hercules, and all these different stories of these characters. It's a mixture of Bible stories, Assyrian culture, and it was Babylonian culture. It was all these gods all wrapped into one. And they made these stories, these verbal stories of it. They weren't reading. You read all throughout history, Israel wasn't reading the books. How the hell was it Gad able to sit back here in Michigan and have all the damn 5 books of the Torah, but they couldn't read it? We can't read this book, so they're just too old for us. Here, white man, you take it. Oh yeah, these are the 5 books of the Bible that y'all don't want to read. Israel read the storytell, sing and dance out.
That's the game. That's what was going on.
Sing and dance.
There was
storytell.
ceremonies, singing and dancing on, passing on oral tradition. Because reading is hard. This is hard.
Listen, reading, and if for Jake, reading's boring.
Yeah.
This is boring. We got to sit back and read the Torah. Let's go sing and dance and deviate. That's what it was. So now, was that?
Just like the scripture says, we're going to be discontinued from our inheritance.
Yeah.
We were. The reason they couldn't read, they didn't even understand Hebrew. How you a Hebrew, but you don't read Hebrew?
Because you know what? Israel rather sing and dance and storytell. It is that book it's called Loves to Push. It was like the Machu, the Popol Vuh.
Yeah.
The Popol Vuh was just a bunch of stories, And the Great Spirit did this, and it rained a lot over here. These are stories, Instead of just reading books and paying attention to detail, that's what the scripture says. The Greeks seek after wisdom, the Jews seek a sign. I want to see something out the sky. I want to see some thunder out the sky I can talk about versus reading and studying and giving attention to learning. These are the facts. Okay, so we're dealing with Josiah's, and how Josiah sat back here and established all of the laws again. And it was in the 18th year of his reign when he established that Passover. That 18 years when he realized, oh, damn, we got a Bible. We got to sit back and follow the laws of Moses. Okay? Read on.
In the 18th year of the reign of Josiah was this Passover kept.
Mm-hmm.
And the works
Of.
it says,
The works of.
God. And the works of Josiah were upright before his Lord with an heart full of godliness.
Mm-hmm.
As for the things that came to pass in his time, they were written in former time concerning those that sinned and did wickedly against the Lord above all people and kingdoms.
Manasseh and then Manasseh and Josiah's his father were wicked as hell. Read on.
And how they grieved him exceedingly, so that the words of the Lord rose up against Israel. Now after all these acts of Josiah, it came to pass that Pharaoh the king of Egypt came to raise war at Carchemish upon Euphrates. And Josiah went out against him. But the king of Egypt sent to him, saying, What have I to do with thee, O king of Judea?
Mm-hmm.
I am not sent from the Lord God against thee, for my war is upon Euphrates.
I don't want this smoke. I'm not trying to fight you, Josiah. I know the Most High is with you. I want to go around and touch these other boys. You know what I mean? Read on.
And now the Lord is with me. Yea, the Lord is with me, hasting me forward. Depart from me, and be not against the Lord. Howbeit Josiah did not turn back his chariot from him, but undertook to fight with him, not regarding the words of the prophet Jeremiah spoken by the mouth of the Lord, but joined battle with him in the plain of Megiddo. And the princes came against King Josiah. Then said the king unto his servants, Carry me away out of the battle, for I am very weak.
Yeah.
And immediately his servants took him away out of the battle. Then gat he up upon his second chariot, and being brought back to Jerusalem, died, and was buried in his father's
Sepulchre.
And in all Jewry they mourned for Josiah. Yea, Jeremiah the prophet lamented for Josiah, and the chief men with the women made lamentation for him unto this day. And this was given out of an ordinance to be done continually in all the nation of Israel.
Why was this ordinance was supposed to be established continually? Because he helped resurrect and reestablish Israel to go back to the standards that they had forgotten for 75 years, man. That's why the Most High tells you in I think it's Ecclesiastes 34. 34, I think. Well, I think it was. Is it 34 or was it? No, it wasn't 34. It was 30. Let me see. Where it said Josiah said, and there was 4 men that were perfect in his eyes.
That was the end. At the end of the book. 49.
I don't think it was. Was it 49?
Maybe 49. It wasn't Psalm 49. It's the very end of the book.
It was 49. It was Ecclesiastes 49. My apologies. Read that. Ecclesiastes 49, verse 1 through 4.
Ecclesiastes.
Yes, Ecclesiastes chapter 49, verse 1 through 4.
Ecclesiastes chapter 49, verse 1. The remembrance of Josiah is like the composition of the perfume that is made by the art of the
Apothecary.
He
says the remembrance of Josiah is like the composition of the perfume that is made by the art of the apothecary. It was perfect. Don't forget, prayers that were sent to the Most High are like incense, right? So he says how Josiah was made, what his spiritual makeup was perfect in the Most High's eyes. The scent was perfect. Read on.
It is sweet as honey in all mouths,
Mm-hmm.
and as music at a banquet of wine.
He said it was perfect. how he carried himself, how his character was perfect in the Most High's eyes. Read on.
Verse 2. He behaved himself uprightly in the conversation of the people and took away the abominations of iniquity.
What made him so great is how he changed the culture of the nation. Read on.
He directed his heart unto the Most High, and in the time of the ungodly he established the worship of the Most High.
And that was why it said his name was supposed to be established for generations. Or that memorial was supposed to be established for generations. Read on.
All except David and Hezekiah and Josiah.
So everybody except for David, Hezekiah, and Josiah, read on,
were defective.
That's crazy. He says everybody on earth leading up to this particular point, David, Ezekiel, Josiah, they were the only ones that weren't defective. They weren't flawed. Read on.
For they forsook the law of the Most High, even the kings of Judah fell.
He said all the kings fell short. They're talking about out of all the kings of the earth, those three were the only ones that were great, they weren't flawed. Read on.
Therefore he gave their power unto others, and their glory to a strange nation.
Okay, let that go and go back to Ezra chapter 1 and verse 33, huh? Okay, cool. That's why I can't be on all the time. Yeah, 1 and 33?
Right. Say, First Ezra 1 and 33. These things are written in the book of the stories of the kings of Judah, and every one of the acts that Josiah did, and his glory, and his understanding in the law of the Lord, and the thing that he had done before, and the things not recited, Salaki, and the things now recited, are reported in the book of the kings of Israel and Judea. And the people took Jachaz, the son of Josiah, and made him king instead of Josiah his father, when he was 23 years old. And he reigned in Judea and in Jerusalem 3 months.
It's not a very long time. Read on.
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
And then the king of Egypt deposed him from reigning in Jerusalem. And he set a tax upon the land of 100 talents of silver.
What does that mean? Deposed.
They took him out. Read on.
Put a hit on him?
Well, I think the Most High stung him because he was living wicked. Because most of the time that's what happens. Matter of fact, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I just want to get I have this list of all the kings and how long they was in power. In the chapters. Yeah. 3 months. He got the thumbs down, man. He was living wicked, man.
Bad guy.
He was a bad guy. It was something idolatry. You know it was. Let's I'm just gonna look for it real quick. Yep. Let me see. Shalom. Let me see. 2 Kings 22. Yeah, it said this 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 31 and 32 and 33. I'm just going to read it real quick. Jehoahaz, which was the son, it might have been spelled different in the Apocrypha, was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. 3 months in, he was wicked, man. And Pharaoh Nechoah put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. Okay. And Pharaoh Nechoah made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Joachim, and took Jehoahaz away. And he came to Egypt and died. Okay? So, once again, he was killed. He was put in bands, meaning in captivity, and sent to Egypt. And he died. Okay? That's what happened. So, we go back to Esdras.
36.
Mm-hmm.
And he set a tax upon the land of 100 talents of silver and 1 talent of gold.
Yeah, we just read it. You know?
The king of Egypt also made King Joachim, his brother, king of Judea and Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm. So his brother was, the older son obviously was Jehoahaz. His younger brother was Jehoiakim. Okay? There it is. There we go. He lasted long. He lasted 11 years. But he was still a bad guy. Read on.
And he bound Joachim and the nobles, and Xerxes, his brother, he apprehended and brought him out of Egypt. 25 years old was Joachim when he was made king in the land of Judea and Jerusalem. And he did evil before the Lord.
Exactly. All these guys is doing evil, man. Read on.
Wherefore against him Nebuchadnezzar,
Nebuchadnezzar,
the king of Babylon, came up and bound him with a chain of brass and carried him into Babylon.
And that's where you get the prayer of Manasseh.
Mm-hmm.
The whole prayer of Manasseh is the whole conversation he had with the Most High in his head. And his prayer, I'm sorry I messed up.
Well, but this Joachim did 3 months and he was out. And then it was, make sure I got this right.
Talking about Manasseh, right?
No, that's not Manasseh.
Okay, so
this is Zedekiah. This is Zedekiah came in. Don't forget, this is towards the end. Don't forget, we had talked about this a couple weeks ago. Now we got when Josiah approached the Most High and was afraid because he knew that all Israel had been sinning. And remember, they went to that female prophetess, and the female prophetess said, "Listen, man, you're going to be okay. I'm not going to destroy you, but Israel's going to fall soon." And a prophet actually told Hezekiah earlier, he said, these same people, Babylon, that you're talking with, that you're making a league with, they're going to be the ones that overthrow you in a short period of time. So what ends up happening is Josiah, he's in power, he dies. Then his son right afterwards stays in power for 3 months, he's knocked out. Then another guy comes in, his brother Jehoiakim, he's in power for 11 years, he's knocked out. Then his brother, another one came in, it was Jehoiakim, he stays for 3 months, he's knocked out. Then Zedekiah comes in, and he's the king that's in power when Nebuchadnezzar comes in and takes him out. Okay? And he was in power for 11 years. And that's where it says now it's spelled Nebuchadnezzar, but that's just Greek for Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? So, matter of fact, read, what verse are you at again? 45, right?
Actually, we're back a little bit. We're up here at 40, actually.
Okay, perfect. Oh, read verse 40 again.
Wherefore against him Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came up and bound him with a chain of brass and carried him into Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar also took of the holy vessels of the Lord and carried them away and set them in his own temple in Babylon. But those things that are recorded of him and of his uncleanness and impiety are written in the chronicles of the king. And Joachim, his son, reigned in his stead. And he was made king being 18 years old, and reigned but 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem, and did evil before the Lord. So after a year, Nebuchadnezzar sent and caused him to be brought into Babylon with the holy vessels of the Lord. And made Zedekiah king of Judea and Jerusalem, when he was 21 years old, and he reigned 11 years. And he did evil also in the sight of the Lord.
That's Zedekiah.
And cared not for the words that were spoken unto him by the prophet Jeremiah from the mouth of the Lord. And after that, King Nebuchadnezzar had made him to swear by the name of the Lord. He forswore himself and rebelled, and hardened his neck, his heart, and transgressed the law of the Lord God of Israel. The governors also of the people and of the priests did many things against the Lord, and passed all the pollutions of all nations, and defiled the temple of the Lord.
We're in 1 Ezra chapter 1 verse 50 now. Or 49. Read on.
And defiled the temple of the Lord, which was sanctified in Jerusalem. Nevertheless, the God of their fathers sent by his messenger to call them back, because he spared them and his tabernacle also. But they had his messengers in derision. And look, when the Lord spake unto them, they made a sport of his prophets. So far forth that he, being wroth with his people for their great ungodliness, commanded the kings of the Chaldees,
The Chaldeans, which are the Babylonians. Read on.
to come up against them, who slew their young men with the sword, yea, even within the compass of their holy temple, and spared neither young man nor maid, old man nor child among them, for he delivered all into their hands. And they took all the holy vessels of the Lord, both great and small, with the vessels of the ark of the Most High, and the king's treasures, and carried them away into Babylon. As for the house of the Lord, they burnt it, and brake down the walls of Jerusalem, and set fire upon her tower. And as for her glorious things, they never ceased till they had consumed and brought them all to naught. And the people that were not slain with the sword he carried into Babylon, who became servants to him and his children, till the Persians reigned, to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbath. The whole time of her desolation shall she rest, until the full term of 70 years.
So once again, this is Ezra giving that breakdown that I explained earlier. How 70 years had to go down. They had to be in captivity 70 years in Babylon before they can start the process of rebuilding the temple. And Ezra is just kind of giving a breakdown of the history leading up to this fall. Okay? Because a lot of times you go over the 9.5 and how you break down the 9.5, you start with Jeroboam and you go down and they're out quick. When you sit back and look at this list, Hosea was in power when we got taken out. That was 722 BC. Israel had another 120, 30 years of sinning before they fell. Point is, Ezra's 1 is just going at the pinnacle was Josiah. It was his Hezekiah, Manasseh, and a couple guys in between, then Josiah. He did the basic good to keep it up, but the Most High already prophesied it was going to fall. So it keeps deteriorating. You keep hearing about Nebuchadnezzar. Leave it up. You keep hearing about Nebuchadnezzar coming in and taking the gold out. What they did, they took over years before they wiped them out completely. They had them paying tribute before they wiped them out. And that's where all these minor guys, whether it was Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, Zedekiah, they were all under tribute to the king of Babylon. It was Egypt was giving Josiah some problems. It was Egypt, and then Babylon took them over. I'm just trying to kind of paint a picture about how things were going down. So from verse 40 all the way to kind of verse 50, they were in subjection, paying their tribute. And then Nebuchadnezzar said, "It's time to take you guys completely over." And that's when he wiped them out. All right? So now we're in paragraph 2. Let's read on. I mean chapter 2. Salaki. Matter of fact, Ibad. Let's get you in this last chapter. Do it again.
Abakarataza, Shal Shabbatah, Ban Yahawada, Ban Yashala.
Abakarataza, Shal Shabbatah, Ban Yahawada, Ban Yashala. Amaju. Right? Yahweh Hashem Yashabakta.
Y'all about Shem Yashabakta.
All right.
First
Chapter
Ezra,
2.
Chapter 2.
Mm-hmm.
In the first year of Cyrus, king of the Persians, that the word of the Most High might become established,
That might be accomplished. Mm-hmm.
that he had promised by the mouth of
Jeremiah. Jeremy is Jeremiah.
God. And the Most High raised up the spirit of Cyrus, the king of the Persians, and he made proclamation through all his kingdom, and also by writing, saying, Thus says Cyrus, king of the Persians, the Most High of Israel, the Most High power, hath made me king of the whole world, and commanded me to build him an house at Jerusalem and Jewry. And therefore, if therefore there be any of you that are of his people, let the Most High, even his Lord, be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem that is in Judea, and build the house of the Most High of Israel, for he is the Lord that dwell in Jerusalem. Whosoever then dwell in the place, whosoever then dwell in the places about, let them help him. Those, I say, that are his neighbors, with gold and with silver, and with gifts, with horses, and with cattle, and other things which have been set forth by vow, for the temple of the Most High at Jerusalem.
So what he's saying is, everybody that's surrounding them, with my power, I'm going to use their resource to help build up the temple, because the Most High put it in Cyrus' spirit to help rebuild the temple of the Most High. Read on.
Verse 8. Then the chief of the families of Judea and the tribe of Benjamin stood up, the priests also, and the Levites, and all they whom mind of the Most High had moved up to go up, and to build an house for the Most High at Jerusalem.
You know what it also shows? He had to break Israel for 70 years to get them humble, to get them listening.
Yeah. 70 years. Is
Now everybody wants to stand up for the Lord, right? The funny thing is, the nations had to say, well, I want to build this temple. I want to rebuild the temple up. I'll do it. They were so broken, the Most High had to sit back here and inspire a nation to sit back here to go do this work. That's insane, man. There wasn't even a prophet amongst us that was able to rose with people. They were just broken down. They were broken down, and what was needed, Shalom, what was needed was that the king had to sit back, have the power and the desire to want to uplift and build up the people. Read on. It's just sad how the Most High has to break down Israel to nothing just to get them humble and to want to consider serving the Most High again. Read on.
Verse 8. Then the chief of the families of Judea and the tribe of Benjamin stood up, the priests also, and the Levites, and all they whose mind the Most High had moved up to go up, and to build an house for the Most High at Jerusalem. And they that dwelt round about them, and helped them in all things with silver and gold, with horses and cattle, and with very many free gifts of a great number, whose mind was stirred up thereto. King Cyrus also brought forth the holy vessels, which Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from Jerusalem, and had set up in his temple of idols. Now when Cyrus king of the Persians had brought them forth, he delivered them to the Mithridates, his treasury.
Mithridates, I guess.
Mithridates, his treasury. And by him they were delivered to Sanballat, the governor of Judea. And this was the number of them, 1,000 gold cups, and 1,000 of silver censers of silver 29, vials of gold 30, and of silver 2,410, and
8,000.
1,000 of other vessels.
So they still had our. I guess our.
Well, what he said is the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar had all this in his temple of idols. So what Cyrus did is he got, because Cyrus, the Persians took over the Babylonians. So now they went over in that temple and got all this that belonged to the Jews and sent it back to them.
Put everything back up.
Exactly. And that shows
That's
that
awesome.
Most High is merciful. Exactly. Let's keep going.
So all the vessels of gold and of silver which were carried away were 5,409. These were brought back by Sanabasar, together with them of the captivity from Babylon to Jerusalem. But in the time of
Xerxes. That's Xerxes.
In the time of Xerxes, king of the Persian,
Belamus.
and the Mithridates, and Telebius, and Rathamus, and
Beetlejuice.
Belthamus.
Beltithamus, and
Semelius.
Semelius, the secretary, with others that were in commission with them, dwelling in Samaria and other places, wrote unto him against them that dwelled in Judea at Jerusalem these letters following: To King Xerxes our Lord, thy servants, Rathamus, the story writer, and Semelius, the scribe, and the rest of their council, and the judges that are in
Syria,
Phoenice. But
be it now known to the Most High, to the Lord King, that the Jews are up from you and
to
the Jews
us.
are come up from you to us, being come into Jerusalem.
Oh my bad, it just reads that right here.
Okay.
Being come into Jerusalem, that rebellious and wicked city, do build the marketplaces and repair the walls of it, and do lay the foundation of the temple. Now, if this city and the walls thereof be made up again, they will not only refuse to give tribute, but also rebel against kings. And for as much as the things pertaining to the temple are now in hand, we think it meet not to neglect such a matter, but to speak unto the Lord the King to the intent that if it be thy pleasure, it may be sought out in the books of thy fathers. And thou shalt find in the Chronicles what is written concerning these things, and shalt understand that the city was rebellious, troubling both kings and cities.
Why do you think they're sitting back here writing this to Xerxes? Because listen, when you read in verse 16, all these leaders and heads were surrounding Samaria. They were they were going to be the first countries that get affected if the Jews get back in power. That's why they're worried. Persia's a little further down the way. Persia, the Median Empire is a little further away. They were the first nations that will be affected negatively by this situation. Okay? Read on.
Verse 23. And that the Jews were rebellious and raised always wars therein, for the which cause even the city was made desolate. Wherefore now we do declare unto thee, O Lord the King, that if this city be built again, and the walls thereof set up anew, thou shalt from henceforth have no passage into
Syria,
and
Phoenice. It's just areas surrounding Samaria. He's like, if you let these guys get built up, they're going to turn their back on you.
You're trying to sow in some negative.
Well, that's the point. It was hating, and they were truly afraid. They were truly afraid. It was a threat. Read on.
Then the king wrote back against Rathamus, What you say?
Rathamus.
Rathamus.
Rathamus, man.
It's a lot.
The story writer.
Rathamus, the story writer. And
Beelzebubus. That's why I said Beetlejuice, man. Better what it says is Beelzebubus. Read on.
To Semelius the scribe, and to the rest that were in commission and dwellers in Samaria and Syria and Phoenice after this manner. I have read the epistle which ye have sent unto me. Therefore I command to make diligent search, and it have been found that city was from the beginning practicing against kings, and the men therein were given to rebellion and war.
Men were given to rebellion and war.
They were.
And that mighty kings were fierce and were in Jerusalem, who reigned and exacted tributes in Syria and Phoenice.
Well, that's again, they have a grudge because they knew that the Jews were sitting back here and making the people of Syria and Phoenice paid them tribute. Read on.
Now therefore I have commanded to hinder those men from building the city, and heed to be taken that there be no more done in it, and that those wicked workers proceed no further to
the
annoyance of kings. Then King Xerxes, his letter being read, Rathamus and Semelius the scribe, and the rest that were in commission with them, removing in haste toward Jerusalem with a troop of horsemen and a multitude of people in battle array, began to hinder the builders.
Haters.
And the building of the temple in Jerusalem ceased until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of the Persians.
The crazy thing is, we're good as evil as present. Man.
Yeah.
You sit back here, you try to do the right thing, the Most High open the door, and Satan kicks it right back in to close it. What's that, Tespa?
I just wanted to share this out because this is what they didn't understand. This is Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1, and I love it because it proves how the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. The stories go hand in hand.
God.
It says, thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I will go before thee, and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass, and cut asunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness, and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which called thee by thy name, am the God of Israel.
Okay.
So the Most High had already set it up with Cyrus and the Persian Median Empire that he was going to have control. But part of the agreement that the Most High made with Cyrus was that he sent men back to build the temple. And that picks up in the Apocrypha, and what we're reading, First Ezra, chapter 3, and not reading through the whole story, but
I want to actually go to chapter 3 because
we're
kind of on a cliffhanger. I don't want to finish off just to chapter 2, but also the thing is when you're reading Isaiah, Tazapah, is that Cyrus, listen, that was still during Isaiah. That was when the Babylonians had just had jurisdiction over the Jews. They hadn't even uprooted them out yet. Remember I was explaining earlier in First Ezra that Nebuchadnezzar came down first and he imposed tribute. He took gold. He was imposing tribute initially. And that was when Isaiah was still in power, was still as a matter of fact, I'm going to take it back. Isaiah was prophesying about the fact Nebuchadnezzar was coming. He was saying Nebuchadnezzar was coming. Then Jeremiah was in power as the head prophet. That's when they start putting him under tribute, and then eventually they start sitting back here and eradicating everybody and shooting them up to Babylon. Okay, and that whole process happened during Jeremiah. Then Ezekiel was I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was either taken into captivity or he was born in Babylon and he was teaching at that time. The point is, all I'm trying to give is a timeline. Isaiah was talking about Cyrus before Babylon even took him out. Before Babylon even took the Jews out for the Persians to come in and take the Babylonians out. So all these things, the Most High kept giving prophecies years ahead of time. Like I said earlier about how the prophet told Hezekiah, hey, this same person, this same kingdom that you're talking with is going to be the same kingdom that takes you guys out soon. It was Hezekiah, Manasseh, Josiah's father, Josiah, 3 sons, boom. Then it was Zedekiah, and that was it.
Because you don't read about the Babylonians coming into power until Jeremiah the 25th chapter.
That's my point, and that's my point. But the thing is, it was Isaiah got killed because the prophecies that Isaiah was teaching hadn't come to pass yet. So they ended up murking him because it didn't come to pass yet. But it was Jeremiah's time it was supposed to happen. All I was bringing out was on top of your point that Cyrus he couldn't even have been in power yet. Nope. He couldn't even been raised as a king yet. And the Most High was saying, that's the guy. And it proves it further in essence because the Most High talked to Cyrus. Listen, man, you're going to be the guy that gets these guys back down here. Okay? Anyway, let's do Ezra 3. Who wants
First
to read?
Ezra chapter 3.
I got to salute you in. No, you don't. Yes, I do. Come on. Come on. We're recording, man.
Yoab, Shal Shabbatah, Ban Yahawada, Ban Yashala.
Yoab, Shal Shabbatah, Ban Yahawada, Ban Yashala. Imagine. Right? Yahawah Shem Yashabakatah.
Yahawah Shem Yashabakatah. First Ezra chapter 3, verse 1. Now, when Darius reigned, he made a great feast.
And let me know what you want to say if there's something that popped in your head.
I don't know how far you wanted to read.
You know, this is only 24 verses. I think we can just knock this out.
Right, but the point I wanted to get to was actually in chapter 4.
Now that kind of gets longer, man.
Yeah, but it's not even, because I didn't want to read the whole chapter, because the whole story is about when those 3 guards was guarding the king, and they had a contest of who could make up the wisest speech.
Yeah.
And one talked about the king, the other talked about
wine, the strongest.
Talked about women and the truth.
Yeah.
Well, the fourth one, or the third one that actually talked about women and the Most High, that was Zerubbabel. He was a part of that captivity, but he had to come back and remind Darius about the promise that Cyrus had made to the Most High to rebuild the kingdom. And that's when he started sending them back to rebuild it. And that's in chapter 4.
You know what? Let's hold off on chapter 3. Because this is going to open a whole other door. And we're not going to be able to stop mid direction. Even going into Darius, let's hold off on Darius until next week. But what we're going to do, we're going to have to keep knocking out these apocryphas, okay? You know, a lot of times when we're sitting back and going through these classes, the classes stretch out and we don't get a chance to really get into it. But we're going to make it a point to at least get 2 chapters a day in the apocrypha. Is what it does. And I know but other brothers, other cities doing it. What it does, it gives us an opportunity to tap into a lot of the stories of the kings, a lot of the stories of in the scriptures that you don't get a chance to go to in your basic Genesis to Deuteronomy scenario. It allows us to go into a lot of 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles. It's going to tie a lot of that information in. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel. So we'll do that. Going through this, I don't want to go and take it into this whole conversation with the king, with those guards, man. I don't want to do that. That's going to be too much, and it's going to change. It's going to change the whole process. This is a good start. We'll just go and finish off our prayers. And are there any questions about what we talked about so far, whether it's the beginning or now? But we'll start hitting up more of these angles. We're going to have to. It's good for everybody. Okay, listen. Amajim, Mupanya, Yerushalayim. I just don't want to take it too far, man, and we got to go into another 2 hours, man. Brothers got to get to the zones and handle their business. So, It's like y'all. I know that you was gonna read the verse. Okay. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Please listen to us right now.
Please listen to us right now.
Send Michael.
Send Michael.
And the righteous angels. To watch over. Bless. Heal. Protect. And make strong. The people of Yahshua. Also send unto us. Much wisdom. Much knowledge. Much understanding. Much patience. Much faith. Much brotherhood. And much love. Spiritual power. And forgive all of our sins. Yahweh Shai. Come quickly. For in thee is our hope. Always. And forever. Amen. Barakatay Hawa B'Hashem Yahushai. Hawa Nathon Lanawa. Hathawa Ra.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law.
Barakatay Hawa B'Hashem Yahushai. Hawa Nathon Lanawa.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the light to see.
Number 3. Barakatay Hawa B'Hashem Yahushai. Hawa Nathon Lanawa. Ha'ayim.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Barakatay Hawa B'Hashem Yahushai. Hawa Nathon Lanawa. Sheman. Zayat. La. Mashak. Yashal.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Psalms 92. It is good to give thanks unto the Lord.
It is good to give thanks unto the Lord.
And to sing praises unto thy name.
And sing praises unto thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness.
To show forth thy loving kindness.
In the morning.
In the morning.
And thy faithfulness.
And thy faithfulness.
Every night.
Every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
And upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh.
For thou Yahweh.
Hast made me glad through thy work.
Has made me glad through thy work.
I will triumph in the works of thy hands.
I will triumph in the works of thy hands.
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh,
how great are thy works!
how great are thy works!
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
When the wicked spring as the grass.
When the wicked spring as the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thine enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo thine enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
Shall perish.
Shall perish.
All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity.
Shall be scattered.
Shall be scattered.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But thy horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
My eye also shall see.
My eye also shall see.
My desire on mine enemies.
My desire on my enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire of the wicked.
My desire of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Shall flourish in the course of our power.
Shall flourish in the course of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
There is no unrighteousness in him.
There is no unrighteousness in him.
By Shem Yahushai.
By Shem Yahushai.
Psalms 133. Shiyor Hama Iowa. La Dawad. Hana. Ma. Tawab. Wama. Na'ayam. Shabbat. Akim. Gum. Yachad. Hashaman. Tawab. Ayo. Hara'at. Yerad. Ayo. Hazaquan. Haran. Sayarad. Ayo. Hayat. Wanna walk you up. Qatar. Haramwan. Sayarad. Ayo. Haraya. Tazayawan. Kayak. Sham. Tazawak. Yahoo. Habaraka. Kayayim. Ay. Ha'almallah. Ba'asham Yahshad. Yahoo. Ba'asham. Yahshad. Wa'achnau. Wa'ashari. Wa'abiyat. Support. 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 Barakatah Yahoo. Barakatah Yahoo shot. Barakatah Yahoo. Barakatah Yahoo shot. All knowledge, all wisdom, all understanding, all love, all mercy, all power from Yahoo. All power from Yahoo. All power from Yahoo. Yahoo shot. Water. Circle up.
Saluting out in the heavenly order. Yahweh, Roy Yahushai, Wuku Yasha'ala, Men of Israel, Muslim, Barak,
Dismiss. Fall out. Israel Online. Shalom. The water for tuning in. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Shalom.
Shalom.